We're live.
We're live.
Yeah, Footy From the Flat is back. Saturday, pre-draft show. We got some special guests here. It was a big wind-in. A lot of time taken there. What are we at, guys? About half an hour late?
Yeah, I'd say
Pretty
we're right on
standard.
time.
Fashionably on time.
Yeah.
Let's say. Let us know if there's any technical difficulties, because I feel like there could be from this morning's antics. We've had a bit of a tough ride here, but we do have some special guests joining us. Jesse McClure, welcome to the show.
Thank you, mate. It's a pleasure to be here. I've heard a lot about this show, and this will do wonders for my brand.
I just want to say, thank you for coming in as well.
Yeah, no, anytime. Yeah.
But we do actually have some special guests to bring in here. We have the special Pommy in Oz. How are you doing, mate?
I am superb. Good to be amongst esteemed guests.
And Woody.
Likewise, yeah. Very happy to be here. It's good to see you all, and keen for the chat.
Plenty to chat about today. We have the draft in 4 days, so I'm super excited for that. And you guys both follow different teams. You got Carlton and St Kilda, who in the off season came to blows.
I'd say we threw a few shots at them. I don't know if they got any back at us, but yeah, it was
I don't know if it was throwing shots. I think it was like, when you put your recycle bin out on a Thursday and then loads of people come about 3 a.m. and go through your recycle bin.
I
was kind of like that.
I'd
You
say
guys were them guys.
hard rubbish.
Yeah.
Come
When
on.
Mrs. Pom nudges me and goes, "Can you tell them to stop? I'm trying to sleep." That's what it was. J Sauce was out the front of my house just going through my rubbish.
Hey, all we need is a good one game from him at the end of the year.
How do you guys feel about all of that, how it went down? Obviously, from a Carlton perspective, you've kind of been able to move the list over Pommy, but at the same time, you've lost some pretty quality players there as well.
Joking apart, TDK, obviously, if you believe the media, is a huge loss. Obviously, with the new AFL ruck rules as well, it appears he's an even bigger loss. You know what? I'm going to just take my Carlton hat off, put it down next to Jesse and say that I actually think I rate it. I think it's about time that someone was really bold and ostentatious in the off-season. We have these rules for restricted free agency and free agency for a reason. I like the fact they're throwing the money, buck the trend, ruffle the feathers. So it's usually everyone plays nice, don't they? And goes, I'll offer 10k more and then you'll match. And I like the fact that they went out there and said, these are the players we want. Carlton can't match with their salary cap. Bang, let's get them. And you know what? Good luck to them.
Do you think they blindsided Carlton at all, or do you think it was kind of, it played into your hands a little bit?
I genuinely worry if Nick Austin and Mika Grasta were like, no bid on CDK, we'll be fine. But I wouldn't put it past Carlton. I've been a Carlton fan for a long time now, so nothing will surprise me. But no, I don't think they blindsided. I think maybe the JSOS one blindsided us. I don't think we were expecting that much. And my impression of Jack is we've always kind of undervalued him. He's always the last guy re-signed. I kind of imagine that conversation goes, it's Jack, his family name. He'll accept 400.
Sign, yeah.
But fair play to Saints. They went out and Flanders, great acquisition as well. Really bold, and they've got to go hard, haven't they? And I always say this, if you keep doing what everyone tells you to do in the AFL, hit the draft, buy rubbish second-hand players, you're going to stay bottom. If you want to get to the top 8, ruffle feathers. And fair play to Saints, they ruffled it.
They did. They went pretty hard. I think we might have some breaking news in the chat.
It's hard to tell if that's real. There's discussion of a pick swap from Cal 2.
It's closed.
I don't know if... Yeah, exactly. The window's closed. So unless this is a rumour about what's going to happen as soon as we go live on the draft day.
Good point.
And we have been deceived by the chat before.
Absolutely.
I'm going to get deceived. I'm going to look it up.
I can't believe...
We're just going to do a little bit of investigating here in the background.
I can't believe we're actually checking this.
I'm
Right on to X.
This is clearly a lie, isn't it?
I feel like we've got. But that being said, no, I reckon in terms of...
yeah, okay, fair play. Well done, chat. I apologise, chat.
Okay, can you take us through that?
Pick 9 and 11 are on the move from Carlton. Essendon is the front runner to land 9, using its picks late in the first and early in the second round. And North Melbourne is in line for pick 11, using 25 and a future second as the part of the swap. But it will be done in the live trade.
So North will get pick 11.
Yeah.
For 25 and 26.
You know what? It's ruined. Counting has ruined it because I've just actually recorded a video where I had a similar trade.
Yeah, right.
We just filmed a mock as well.
I think it's 25
Cheers,
or
Cal.
26 and a future second.
we give a future second as well.
Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, 25, 26 and a future second.
Or one of them. And
I think it's
future-
25 and a future
Yeah.
second.
Oh, 25 in a future.
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah.
Depends what next year's draft is like. But, I mean, what does this say about the Richmond trade from last year? If you're getting back in after trade, you had pick 3.
Yeah. Well, you
Yeah.
can just keep doing this perpetually. Like,
I
just keep trading
suppose.
future first.
So we always end up with the slightly better situation
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, but when people say that, is the Whitlock trade that bad? Because I look at it now, I think Whitlock would be, in my opinion, I think Whitlock's better than Sherbert on face value
Interesting, okay.
in his junior career. I would say he would be on or better. I'd say worst case, he's on the money.
He's more versatile and he's got attributes, like his kicking is better than Schubert. It's a tricky one. I reckon Schubert's a better contested mark.
100%, but I think if you like dotted, let's go through the key forward, key traits. I'd say marking Sherbert, kicking consistency, Whitlock. I would also say the ability to play 3 roles, Whitlock.
Definitely.
I would say his one-on-one contested work, I would say is Whitlock as
I'd
well.
say Whitlock.
Because he's quicker. So I would say you've actually won that in the long run.
Yeah.
I would say Whitlock would be around Sherbert's mark. So
Yeah. I'd say like aerially though, like if you look at what you want from a tall player, Schubert's probably got a little bit more. He's a bit more of a dog in the air.
he's definitely more of a dog. I mean, he's South Australian, so South Australians are always naturally more viscous.
Doggish.
Viscous in that kind of word. So, but I don't hate it. I mean, look, I kind of like that trade from a Carlton perspective because I think
Where would you put Whitlock in this year's draft? I haven't forensically done that, and people have asked me about that.
yeah, I had Sherbert though in my mock draft sliding to Geelong's pick because I think people will panic with key forwards and think that there's CDT for me is the best key forward.
Of course.
I don't think there's...
Outside of that, I think the rest. I think Ludovic is the most underrated player in this draft because I actually think
Key
if he
forwards, for
played,
sure.
When you say CDT is the best key forward, though, do you just mean he's the best prospect that could play that role?
No, but I think if you're drafting him, you're drafting him as a key forward year one. Like you'd be mind blown if you're picking him in the ruck avenue year one.
He probably won't play ruck, but if he's going to play.
Like people keep comparing him to TDK. I disagree because TDK's forward craft was horrific. So Carlton had that horrible thing where he had to play ruck every time he played.
I think if you're picking CDT, though, you're picking him as a transition player, not so much as a key position
Agree.
player.
I mean, like, I hate to be mean to Jesse, but like when I've had quite a lot of Eagles fans go, but Palm, we've got Shannon, Palm, we've got Williams. And I'm like, yeah, but CDT, it's like comparing a Porsche with a Ford car. Like the Ford car.
Do you
might
think
be-
so? Though, as a pure forward, CDT does he really track better than a Shanahan? Maybe not
Yes.
Bailey Williams. I'll give you that
yes.
one.
I think
Yeah.
like if you're...
I think, look, VFL, he, like St Kilda, no offence to you, Sandringham, all the 3 key forwards he went against are highly rated by St Kilda internally, and he made them look mighty stupid as child.
He's so athletic, though. Like, he's going to make those guys look a bit silly at times. It's for me, I'd almost say, though, like his best attribute this season, what he's outputted has been as a kind of like as a mid more than anything else. Like his competitiveness in the ruck, I think he is competitive in there, but he's not dominant as a ruckman. I don't feel he has traits at the moment that are dominant as a key player. So he's more of he's like that Jackson extra ground level player.
I find him more similar to Rowan Marshall in the sense that Jackson's got a bit more tap ability than Roma, a bit more leap than Roma.
Yep.
Whereas Roma gets around the ground a bit better than Jackson. So I feel like he's a bit, for me, closer to that regard. But I also wonder if realistically, if we're looking at West Coast key forward / ruck role, I'm not sure, given 2 years' time, that there's anybody there that will be better. I like Archer Reed, but I think if he comes into the side, I think CDT pushes Arthur Reed out of the way. So for me, I think it's a good pickup if you do end up with him.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, I mean, you're right. I'd say CDT, everyone would unanimously agree, higher rated talent than an Archer Reed, right? I suppose with West Coast list build, though, you look at, is upgrading Archer Reed the highest priority for where West Coast is at? I would argue there are much bigger deficiencies, which is not to say that I'm completely against the CDT thing. Over time, I've sort of accepted that if he's the best available player, you don't really want to fall into that trap of reaching for needs when you might look across at Essendon in 3 years' time and thinking, shit, we could have had CDT if he's really
you
good.
See, I'm with my boy in chat, B-Dub. My issue is they're in a horrible position. Pick 2, exactly to Jesse's point, is their priority making Archer Reed better? It probably isn't. It's probably like 800th on your list. Like, but then you've also got to say, can I ascertain value for 2 from a team that thinks CDT is everything? Which I don't think you can as well. So they're always going to be forever in that horrible position. In an ideal world, someone would say, here's 5 and 6 for 2. And
but that's not
a
happen.
late pick.
It's not going to happen.
And everyone would be happy. But
Everyone
then
wins.
if Essendon did that, I would be doing a video going, this might be the most mind-numbingly stupid thing Essendon have ever done.
Oh,
So-
true, yeah.
So it's a tough place to be in, isn't
Yeah,
it? Because
yeah.
like pick 2 is a horrible situation. CDC is pick 2, but is he pick 2 for West
West
Coast?
Coast. Yeah, I think that's a massive decision, and like they're in such a different position to those other teams down the bottom as well, West Coast. And like I know, Jesse, where you see the West Coast Eagles, you sort of think that they probably underperformed this season from wins and losses, and they are a more competitive team.
Slightly.
But you've got that looming Harley Reed situation as well, and like how much does that affect this as far as wanting to get wins? Because Cooper Duff-Tytler, as good as he is, as much of a prospect as he is, probably doesn't help you win games in the next 2 years.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's a big consideration. And I suppose the question is then who would for West Coast? I mean, I think either of Roby or Sharp, who are the other contenders for pick 2 at this point? Like, if West Coast did go to Roby or Sharp, both of them, in a sense, would be more helpful to West Coast being competitive over the next 3 than a CDT. That's the way it seems right now. But again, then you get trapped into being this like, there's a bit of pathetic club mentality if you're just like, oh, we just need someone to get us by for the next few years rather than picking the best available talent.
I also would put it to you in the sense that likewise with Jason Horton-Francis leaving your club, if you were to lose Harley, you will get more than Harley was like than what took to get Harley, right? So in a way, potentially, like it isn't a bad thing. And likewise, I'd say if you really aren't keen as a club to get in on CDT, Roby would be my next suggestion for you guys, as I think there's a lot of growth there. But it really comes down to, at the end of the day, I don't know how many, and I don't mean this meanly, but I don't know how many wins West Coast is really going to get over the next 2 years. And I don't know if any player selected, be that an experienced player versus a child, can really affect more than, a win or 2. And that's where I kind of think, if you're thinking, hey, like we need to be competitive now, I don't know if anybody's going to do that. But I think in 2 to 3 years, you could start being over that hump in which, maybe you have lost some players that are now considered one of your more, bigger upsides. But if it does happen, like I said, with Dersma to yourself, it might bring in 2 players or 3 that do more than Harley does, right? So that's my kind of thought where you guys might lose him, but it could be the best thing.
How long have West Coast been, sorry to cut you off there, Jesse, like how long have West Coast been in this position down the bottom of the ladder though now? What are we in? Year?
For the 4th
It's not
season.
long though, really. Trust me.
It is for bottom
I
3.
do know that the
Yeah,
average for bottom 4 is 2.5 years before leaving it.
I don't mean though from a perspective of like they've won stuff recently, West Coast, like 2018 they win the premiership. So it's not that, it's more how bad they've been.
Yeah.
They haven't just been down the bottom, they've been in that real dire situation. How long can you keep kicking the can down the road and lose Harley in 2 years and then basically have to rebuild again? And then you're putting more, you're just going back to the draft.
See, I'd interject. I don't think losing Harley in 2 years requires rebuilding again. Like it's still rebuilding. Like it still needs more. So right now, if you lose Harley, if you get enough back, it's potentially a positive. Like as much as Harley definitely moves the needle in a positive direction for West Coast, it's only so much. Whereas 2 or 3 players that have the potential for similar growth to Harley potentially do a lot more, right? So I think it's a give and take. It's really tough to.
They
be in
do,
this
but they'll
position.
just take longer.
Yeah, it will.
To hit
It
their
will.
ceiling.
You know what though scares me though is people say that Harley's going. Eagles for me as a foreigner, I come over here and the clubs that if I was 18 and wanted to be drafted, Carlton, Richmond, right? I'd want to play for them. Essendon, Collingwood, I'd want to play for them, or I'd want to play for Adelaide or Eagles. You're the biggest club out west.
Yeah.
Like with all due respect to Fremantle. So when people say Harley's going to leave, I think that's the smallest like mindset ever in the terms of Eagles need to be building their list. That Harley's going to be our Chris Judd. Harley's going to be our Kerr. Harley's going to be our Cousins. He's going to be here until we win the next dynasty. So you build the team around there. So Harley in 3-4 years' time re-signs. So
to be fair, this might not just be Harley either. Like this could be CDT at pick 2, right? Like, would it be better getting 5 and 6 if that was offered, or 6 and a future first, that sort of thing? So it's one of those situations where you've got to assess whether the capital that you're getting is worth what it is costing to get, and I think that's where right now a lot of our teams have been in the position where what we're spending to get good quality capital player in either is overs in a St Kilda's amount or in terms of, say, CDT, we're looking at going, oh, maybe he could slide to pick 5. Maybe we could move back in the draft to get that and get somebody else, right? So that's where it's like, how much is capital worth where it's at? And I think right now we've got 2 clubs that need more. St Kilda obviously needs more. Everybody needs more. But at the end of the day, it's, can we get back to winning a premiership? And realistically, if it's the Saints, right? If I were to think, and as much as I love, people back in the day, if I was to think about 2009 and 10 and go, right, St Kilda could have won both those premierships, but you have to get rid of Rewalt. I would have gotten rid of Rewalt in a heartbeat. Like, absolutely. And I think that's where, like, what's most important? Is it Harley Reed, Rewalt? Is it a certain player, or is it a premiership? And it's, for me, it's a simple.
At the end of the day, though, those clutch players win premierships for you, right? So it's not like a one or the other thing necessarily. But which way would you take it, Jesse, as a West Coast fan, to draw a line under it? As far as do you think it's more important for West Coast? Probably the conversation really is around, do you go for culture, probably with the Dyson Sharp pick, which also gives you more immediate success, or do you think you take the talent?
I think it's got to be talent. I don't think like the culture element of it is important enough here. I guess the problem is CDT the best talent? That is subjective in itself, right? So, I mean, I'll sort of back in what the club think, but I suppose as a philosophy, I think talent over the leadership potential, because at the end of the day, I mean, we use Dyson Sharp as an example, but there is a school of thought that he won't even be picked in the top 10 if it's not by West Coast. Not many people are saying that, but, I think Toomey said his range is at Essendon. What's that start? Like pick 7 or 8? Probably pick 8.
Yeah.
So if his range starts at 8, then it's hard to make the argument that on talent he's there. I feel somewhat strongly that I don't want to come away from this draft not having addressed the midfield or our forward half stoppage game. Ground ball game. So if I think a scenario that's not ideal for West Coast is Willem Dersma probably plays backward of centre, CDT, no clear position, Jacob Farrow, halfback flanker, and don't address those midfield needs. I mean, the talent's probably right, but I also think there is some impetus for West Coast to improve on things that they were diabolical at. And I think if, with a couple of key players in that space, like a Doveston, for example, probably does suit that, then those little tweaks can actually improve the team a decent amount. And when I say a decent amount, I just mean from being 1 win to 3 wins to 5 wins, you know what I mean? So it's a tough one. It's a really tough one. I guess I'll defer to what the club's judgment is. From a character point of view, I think.
Very political.
Yeah, it's true though. Like as much as I like to get passionate about the draft, I don't want to be one of those guys that like rags on an 18-year-old and be like, no, we shouldn't have picked him. Like that just feels wrong.
Yeah.
And I've also probably been proven more wrong than I have been right about the guys West Coast have drafted. Where I've doubted them, they've generally been the right pick, to be honest, over like the last 15 years.
Would we say, though, that I always find this argument, and I know, Woody, I'm not picking on you, but you said it, is that everyone, Carlton and St Kilda, have done what we're assuming St Kilda are going to do, right? I mean, assuming what West Coast are going to do, pick the best player at the right time and lose a player. But West Coast are a different entity to Carlton and St Kilda. They've won a flag, since admitted to the AFL every 10 years nearly. So Carlton and St Kilda, yours is legally old enough, your last flag, to be my grandma.
Yep.
And Carlton's is legally old enough to get married and adopt children. So we're irrelevant in this conversation. Gold Coast, it's still just starting secondary school. It's not even starting primary school.
Yeah,
You can press charges against your parents.
So what I'm saying is that Eagles, their way and their method has been quite solid. So I am quite confident whatever they do, it will turn into gold, because I'd say Carlton might be further ahead today than Eagles. I would wager a bet as a Carlton fan, you win a flag before my team do.
Rebuttal to that,
yeah.
though. Rebuttal to that would be that Carlton have been a very successful club in the past. So if you had that view in the coming out of the 90s, you'd say, well, Carlton will just turn it around.
Yeah.
That's true.
I also would say...
But I would say modern day football, in them days, Carlton could just go like this to, let's say the best player in the draft. Let's just say he's a Western Australian. Let's say Will Dersma is South Australian.
Yeah.
90s, we could go, hi, Mr. Dersma, you're South Australian. I'll get you a job at the accountancy firm near Carlton. And now it's hard. You've got to look at these players. You've got to watch these players. You've got to draft these players. Then you've got to back in your development. You've got to back in your talent acquisition. You've got to back in your culture. When Carlton won flags, if there was a problem, you just rang someone up and threw money at it.
Yeah.
Now you've got to throw intelligence.
I mean, they even did it with Chris Jard in the 2000s.
And Carlton are probably, no offence, the least intelligent football club in the AFL.
I don't know. Essendon gives you a run for your money.
Yeah, but I think the difference between Essendon and Carlton is they're admitting they've got an arrogance.
I feel like they've gotten over the hurdle.
Yeah, Carlton are still there just every so often. But won a flag in the 90s, baby. Take that, we're popular in the 90s
Let's
as well.
just pull Cooter out again.
So I feel until you commit to this is a professional sport and no one cares about your history is only a sign of what you could do. So Carlton need to find that ruthlessness in the 90s where they cheated to win, but in legitimate ways. I think West Coast already have proven we went through the cheat stage, but we've also proved we can do it in the legitimate stage. So that's where I confirm I think the Eagles are all right. I think they will be backing themselves to keep Harley Reed.
The only issue that I wonder about, and it was something I was looking into in a recent video, and it's the idea of like depreciating assets versus compound interest, right? And it's essentially saying, at what point does teams that are building consistently build based on the amount of equity that they have, right?
Yep.
And what point do teams are just not able to keep up with that building group? And I think we're getting more and more, and this has been said by different members of the AFL public, but I think we're getting closer and closer to a two-tier system where there is certain teams that are building for long periods of time, 5, 10 plus years before they really fall off, if they fall off. Because to be honest with you, we've gotten certain teams that have spent majority of my lifetime there. Geelong has been in that group. I mean, Hawthorn's a bit hit and miss, but yeah, like they're basically in that group. Yeah, like I wonder if we're getting to the point now where it is getting a little bit too hard to properly rebuild, especially through antiquated methods such as like the draft pool, not really using your cap to potentially generate more picks or just better players through. And obviously that's got its own issues as well in terms of actually getting these players to join your club. But I do wonder if we're getting to a point where the gap between the teams that are getting better at an exponential pace versus the gap of teams that are just slowly improving is just getting too grand.
Yeah, and I think in that sense though, you've got to be able to attract players in the trade period. Like there's no success story anymore of the teams that actually win premierships that don't hit the trade period at some point. If you look at like the Brisbane build, it gets spoken about that they came through the draft and they've had both academy and father sons be a part of those successful teams. But really it's their ability to be able to attract non-Queensland players to the club, right? They got Lachie Neale, Josh Dunkley, Joe Danaher, all that weren't.
A lot of that was over like 5+ years ago now though.
Yeah, but they were the players that won the premiership, right?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, in terms of antiquated methods being able to actually rebuild, They didn't do that. Like they needed that group of core experienced players to come through to give them a foundation to build upon. And that's where I worry about, sides like your teams and even my team back when we couldn't get people through and we had money that was getting pissed away, essentially. It goes away to the ether because it's not getting spent on players getting brought in. So you're spending less to keep your players in, which as a bottom side, if you're not paying them pretty well, you might get an Oscar Allen going to Brisbane. I think we're in a position now where it's a real worry whether sides can actually rebuild. And this is probably, say, over the last 5 or so years, 5 to 10-ish, but we're not seeing enough turnover. And like Geelong hasn't bottomed out. Hawthorn hasn't bottomed out. I mean, even Western Bulldogs, they won a flag and they're not making finals, but they haven't bottomed out.
Yeah, well, they keep going back to the trade period though, right? They keep getting players from the trade period.
I'll give you that.
You also say teams like Hawthorn have proven how the modern day teams work. So they went really hard with their rebuild. So looking at Carlton's rebuild, we pussyfooted around it and we were like, we better delist these guys because fans don't like them, but mate, they like this guy. We'll give him 2 more years. Hawks were quite ruthless, and they had I remember their draft period 2 years ago when they went in for Battle the first time when he was contracted.
Yep.
And I remember saying this is a genius idea by them because next year they can get him for free if they make Frost work for a year. They ended up getting Frost. They ended up replacing Frost with Battle and Barras, which is genius. I think a lot of teams are very reactive now, and I think our league is more media-based than it is skill-based. So I actually disagree with the premise of if you're rubbish, you'll stay rubbish forever. You are rubbish, you'll stay rubbish forever if you do the AFL way, if you actually treat it like a professional sport like the rest of the world. Hawthorn have proved it's quite quickly to go from the bottom tier to the top. Collingwood have proved bottom tier to the top. When people go, but they got Nick Dacos for free. They owned that pick before they traded it off. They just used the rules to their advantage. They could have still got Nick Dacos in an open draft quite easily. So it's quite easy to do. You just got to be bold.
I do think
teams are bold.
I think you're right. And the one thing that I'd say maybe more than it being impossible is that you have to start hitting these 50-50s and fairly consistently. Like that sort of, maybe not pick number 1, maybe not pick number 2 for West Coast, right? But if you're talking pick 15, 21, 36, something like that, like those players need to be serviceable players for you to start being able to get over this hump. And I think that's where it's doable, but it's very difficult now. And I wonder with, the advancement of kind of first round draft pick concessions versus increased academies and whatnot, if it's kind of become very hard over the last few years. I do hope what the AFL's brought in is enough to mitigate that with like increased cost of draft pick, that sort of stuff. But we won't really know for another couple of years, to be honest.
I think using St Kilda as an example, excuse me, you just need to breach the threshold of having players want to play for you. And I think that's what St Kilda is arguably trying to do. They're trying to breach that threshold to get into at least finals contention, and that will have flow-on effects in the future, right?
Yep.
Essendon is a big, powerful club. Not many players want to go play for them. If they have the choice, like Harley Reed to Essendon last year as a rumour, was a bit of a joke. It was always going to be Geelong or Hawthorn, in my opinion. And that has sort of been confirmed as well. But you get the sense that as soon as they breach into that finals threshold, heaps of people will want to go play for Essendon 100%. If they believe the future. And you can just look at examples where you can maybe separate Gold Coast because they have that academy. You could also argue that's not a huge part of where they're at. Like Rao was drafted because they had pick 1. I suppose Anderson was a priority pick. But they have also worked to get themselves into this position. And a lot of the guys drafted in the last few years aren't actually a big part of why they're there. But better examples would be Brisbane and then Adelaide. It's not so long ago that these clubs were absolute jokes. Adelaide
that's true.
That's true. The grand final, they lost Charlie Cameron, Mitch McGovern, Jake Lever, and then that spiraled into not a West Coast level of shitness. I don't think that's happened in my time watching the game, but it's still an example of a club that went through it and came out the other side. And now, obviously, it helps being a powerful SA club that produces talent. They can get players back. That does help, and that's true of West Coast. But then you look at Brisbane, and suddenly, Fagan's there, and Lockie Neal goes up there, and even Gold Coast with Hardwick there. They get Dan Rioli before they even became good.
Yeah.
Let alone Christian Petrarca this year. So my point being is, if you linger in that nether region for too long, you're probably just going to stagnate. But it's almost as though St Kilda's identified that if we get into that group with the Bulldogs and whoever else is in the top 8, even GWS to some extent, they do get not those A-grade players to move.
The wild card area these days. Yeah,
or even Sydney, okay, that's a bit of a different one because they have to move interstate, but sometimes good players want to go play for them. So it's what St Kilda's trying to do is become into that group, and I totally
they basically want to be something that just gets up there and sticks there. Like, we're safe now.
Their head's above the water. That's what it's like. Whereas West Coast now, like going back to them as an example, yes, they're a big club. You know, the individuals are all different. That's the problem. Like culturally, there's probably still a decent culture, like within not just the playing group, but like the actual organisation. And they probably have some pull to get good people into the club. But at the same time, what made West Coast successful 10 years ago won't apply in the future.
Exactly.
You just can't stay in the mud too long. And West Coast will still have some advantages, like still got Starcevic, good player. Yep. Liam Baker requested a trade there. Jack Graham, there's still advantages there that maybe wouldn't have happened for a North Melbourne, like the inverse example, because of big club interstate. But at the same time, I'm not one of those people. Well, I've come around to the idea we're not just going to become good again because we have been. Hopefully we can replicate Adelaide, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think there's like the one thing I keep hearing like recently in recruiting, and this is across multiple sports, is how much teams are starting to recruit for sort of, they call it connection, right? And like drafting players that have, I don't know, I guess like they think that are going to come into the club and either, you know, socially get along really well or have that connection on field. I listened to a podcast with, I think, is it Ryan Geeshan, the Richmond guy? I've mentioned this before.
I'm not sure if that's his first name. I can't remember. But I think it's Geeshan.
And he was talking about with Richmond's draft last year and how much they wanted to get guys that had played together but also like had that connection. And he mentioned Harry Armstrong and Thomas Sims in their interviews. Both said that they essentially, like, they were their favourite players to play with together on the field from a, you know, tactical perspective and just how they kind of lined up and stuff like that. So I think that's a big part of recruiting. And some of those examples of clubs like the Gold Coast who recruited, I remember Noah Anderson, Matt Rao, they bring them up. They're like best mates, schoolmates. They come up together and they sort of build the club around that. And I just wonder how much that'll, to spin this back around to West Coast, how much that'll sort of factor in with what they do. Like, who are they pairing with? Dersma's kind of the runaway number one on talent. Who do they pair with him that...
It's a tough one when you've got to consider cultural impact with picks 1 and 2. Like with Harley, I suppose we could have traded the pick. That is possible in that year, but at the same time, you don't. It feels a bit soft to shy away from the big talent. On Harley himself, I think, you know, I think it's a sign of character that he signed on for another 2. Like most people would expect him to go.
Definitely.
So you know, I do think, you know, it's probably a matter of time before he goes back, but. I think, honestly, Harley would probably stay if we gave him a reason to stay. And we're not there yet. So we'll wait and see.
Do we not think, though, this league is bizarre that we put down teams being rubbish for random reasons? When, like, we brush it off and we go, well, Geelong are good because of Cotton On. We go, Brisbane are good because of their academy. Do you know what I mean? North Melbourne are rubbish because they're the little baby brother of the AFL and all the big clubs abuse them. St Kilda, the same story. That every other league we watch doesn't have the equality we have. So, like, if you look at the EPL, we don't say to Burnley, "Oh, you've got the same budget as Manchester City."
To be fair, they don't.
No, but we don't. But so no one in the UK would go, "Oh, it's unfair on Burnley though," because Man City have got 10 times their net worth. But we still have the teams that actually go out and do special things. So Brighton would be a great example. Brentford, Bournemouth. Bournemouth's a backwater town in the UK. Like, I've lived in Bournemouth. It's a poo hole.
They had those betting guys, didn't they? That came into own the club.
But like, you look at like Brighton were like the greatest model because they said that everyone goes to Argentina and Brazil to buy young players. So we went to play countries that are the same. Ecuador. No one went there, but similar upbringing, similar born with the ball. I look at the bottom 6 last year, and I can tell you why the bottom 6 are there, because they're stupid. No offence to them, but they're stupid. So North Melbourne countless times have overspent on average players, or taken draft punts just purely because everyone else does and it seems to work, but it hasn't worked for them. St Kilda the same. They have accepted mediocrity for years. Carlton are the same. You have your list manager in their biggest off-season in 2017 saying we need 25 to 30-year-old midfielders to protect our young core. We bought a key forward in Mitch McGovern with half our salary cap on the free agency. We're down the bottom because we're stupid, and I feel like the sooner fans start admitting being rubbish, like in life, isn't an accident. It's because you make the choice. And the difference is between being brilliant and being average is the choice.
I agree with you.
I think it's fascinating.
Devil's advocate, though, if you look at the AFL and you extrapolate it out over its entire history, there's a pretty clear relationship between the clubs that have big fan bases and have a lot of financial backing win stuff. So your Carltons, your Essendons, they're not successful now, those teams, but they have been. They've won the most premierships, Collingwood, and North Melbourne, St Kilda and Western Bulldogs are the least successful and they're the least financial. So at the end of the day, they're making bad decisions, but why are they making bad decisions?
Because they're desperate. So like to answer Emma's problem where she says the cap floor exists, there's not many people that cover the cap to my extent, so I'm well aware. But you look at like how Carlton negated the cap floor. Yep. They overpaid. Cam Paulson estimated 450k a year. Bang average. You look at other teams that try and find the floor with success. They find bang average state league footballers and pay them an average wage and spread that load. So the difference is the great teams succeed because they're quick to adapt to the modern day. So you look at Collingwood. What have Collingwood done really well? Bought players that have skill sets that other teams disregard. So Ned Long, he was brilliant last year. Other teams disregard it because he's a contested ball winner. He's not quick. Oh, he's ugly. We want exciting players. Collingwood targeted.
He's unattractive.
Yeah. So when I look at it, I always go back to this story. I remember having this conversation with a good mate of mine. We play golf together. He's at an elite level junior club. And I remember him saying the big difference between Geelong's recruiters, when he talks to them, and Carlton and other teams, is they picked on this one player and said, oh, the media is saying he's a bad kick. We've noticed that. When Geelong came, they said, so can you just give us his GPS data? What's he like defensively? And he actually asked the Geelong recruiters, don't you want to hear about his kicking technique? And they were like, we don't care. We can teach him that. We just want these skill facets. So when you look at like, if you read like Golden State Warriors in the US, when they had rubbish picks because they were winning, they talent recruit over skill set versus what the media was saying. They didn't care if you could two-way run. They didn't care if you could shoot the three line. They were looking for certain facets and backing they could teach it. So I think that's where we are in AFL. People are stuck in their ways. They're arrogant. They're narrow-minded. But look at the bottom six last year. Let's go through it together. It's quite funny. Eagles, they're bottom because they bought the Kelly deal. Ridiculous.
More than that, but yeah.
Richmond, right, in the rebuild, done it the right way. North Melbourne, years of stupidity. Essendon, years of stupidity. Melbourne, massive rebuild. Port Adelaide, they think first round picks are Mickey Mouse. And then you look St Kilda and Carlton, two of the most arrogant clubs when it comes to the off-season, the trade, that we've probably seen in the last decade.
I don't feel like St Kilda's arrogant.
Doing stupid things, like not maybe doing
we're dumb. Yeah, I just don't know
not
if
doing
we're
what's
arrogant.
best for you in the long term, doing what's best for you in the media now. So like Carlton, it was a good idea to get Mitch McGovern. He was a grand finalist key forward. It looked good on paper. When you looked at the list, it was the stupidest thing you could do when you've recruited all these young midfielders. No one to protect them. So that's my point. The problem is shit teams go, oh my God, it's unlucky we're shit. Nah, you're shit because you're stupid and you need to accept it.
Yeah, you make those stupid decisions, but the people that make those decisions are ultimately like vassals of the club, right? Which are employed. So like the teams like Geelong who have had this, again, it comes off that like standing on the shoulders of the past generations too, right? Like Geelong are a successful club and they just employ people consistently that make those decisions. But I suppose my theory is that it ultimately does come down to money and power because those clubs attract people that have that success built in.
I disagree. Disagree because like last year, like system and culture help, brilliant comment. Chol, Ginnivan, these players, people didn't like them and didn't rate them. Hawthorn went out there because they believed in them. So can you imagine if North Melbourne went out and bought Cho, Ginny and D'Ambrosio? Everyone would go, nah, but they're rubbish and they're getting second graders, guys that their team don't want. So they go out and get the shiny new Finn O'Sullivan. Because it looks good, doesn't it? In the media go, Finn O'Sullivan could be a generational superstar. It doesn't look sexy to bring in the players that make you better. And that's because the football clubs in this country are so obsessed with how the fans and the media view them, where you look at the top teams in the world, they don't care what Cal Toomey writes. They don't care what John Ralph writes, because they're just idiots in suits writing about the sport they can't play. They do what they need to do.
I
and
agree.
Then wait for
Yeah,
it.
I agree with you that disconnected football clubs make decisions individually. So, for example, like I feel Carlton's probably a good example of this, where like you've recruited over a long period of time, even with your drafting and stuff like that. You'll get the players that are safer. It's more of a safety thing. Like you won't take the Cam Rayner type player at pick 1 because he feels too luxury and cherry on top.
Can I put in a different sort of thought process there? Because I look at... can I get you to put that as well?
I can do it. Anything you want, mate.
Thank you, brother. We'll talk about what we'll do later. That being said...
Would you like another drink as well?
No, I'm good for now. That being said, I do wonder if if the general style of play influences it a lot. Because if I looked at Chol, Guinea, all those players that were mentioned before, and I put them into, say, a North, as you've mentioned, or I don't know, whoever.
They suck. They suck.
They probably are shit players. And it's... I think at that point you're going, all right, well then what changes them from being a shit player in a shit team to a good player in a good team?
System and role.
Yeah, exactly right. So to me it's... I don't know if you can really say enough about those players, because maybe Chol, I think we've probably seen enough. He's been at 3 teams. You could probably say, right, it is system that makes him a good player, because otherwise he would have been a good player at Richmond and they wouldn't have gotten rid of him. He would have been a good player at Gold Coast and they wouldn't have gotten rid of him.
But that's also from the club, about like identifying players that you can get cheaply like that. Yeah. So like who do we need to pay up for, and who can we actually get for a bargain that can fill a role? Maybe like, you're checking those GPS numbers and you're going, this guy can do this. Yeah. He can just do this one thing that we need him to do. And I think that's where clubs have changed. It's not just recruiting from he's a good footballer, let's bring him in. There's just such a wide variety of things that come into it.
I think you can think of so many examples of players who were good quality role players in a system that were somewhat high-profile trades and then flopped at their new club. Bang. And we always blame the player, but sometimes it's also just not being suitable. So a few examples would be Lockie Schultz, actually. And it's not a knock on Collingwood.
He was the first one that came to my head.
If you just look at the system that Fremantle employed, it obviously worked for Lockie Schultz. He was able to play his best footy, and then you put him into... Were they the reigning premiers, I think, at the time? I'm not sure, but a strong club in Collingwood doesn't really work. Tim Kelly. Look, I think the Tim Kelly thing gets exaggerated as being a big reason why we're at. Possibly it's exaggerated.
While you're in the bathroom, Pommy just called you guys out.
I totally heard it. I totally heard it, but I won't go down that rabbit hole because I can talk all night about it. But with Tim, it's also a little exaggerated that he's been terrible the whole time. Not saying that you said that he is terrible now. But a good example of a player who was really an outstanding player because of the system that allowed him to flourish. Whereas you do a little bit more heavy lifting at West Coast over the last few years with an inferior, since he's come in, inferior midfield. He doesn't look anything resembling an All-Australian, and even in his best years, he hasn't at West Coast. I also think guys like Lawson Humphreys, even an Ollie Dempsey, who is talented, if you put them at North, West Coast right now, it's part of the equation is the talent identification, but also having the system that allows these players to flourish in those roles. I don't think any club has done it as well as Hawthorn, to be honest, because you look at Geelong and you think Jeremy Cameron and Joel Selwood over the years and all these other, Tom Stewart, they've actually got the star players, whereas Hawthorn rebuilt. And it's actually hard to pinpoint who their A-grade players are of the same calibre as the Geelong, and yet the quality difference in those teams is not significant. It's almost like they traded in like 8 to 10 players with picks later than 30 or 40 that have all become great role players at the same time. And there's a few star talents. So that they probably are doing something that no other club is doing right now.
Absolutely.
I would say look at Ned Long. So Ned Long, I remember speaking to Hawthorn fans. We've got similar players. He's not very offensive. Collingwood bought him, and to back your role player, but they understood what he was. He was better at defence than Nick Dacos, which allowed Nick Dacos to be more ostentatious with the ball in hand, right? Which is perfect. Which then, when they targeted Dan Houston, that allowed Josh Dacos to spend more midfield time. He was wasted at halfback. Yes, Dan Houston had to do more defence, which is why his output was worse. It's thinking about it. So Tim Kelly, I don't think he's a bad recruit. I think he was great, but you look at him at Geelong, he had some of the greatest players in the league hand feeding him the ball. He goes to you guys. He's now got to win that ball.
Totally.
So I don't think he's a bad signing. I think the big problem with Tim Kelly going to you is you overpaid for what you needed, right? What you needed at the time, and not realise that he's not going to be the Tim Kelly at Geelong. So I think for what he's done well. But I think that's an overpay when you look at Collingwood got Ned Long for free to win what he needed to do.
I think the Tim Kelly one too, it's more than even just like actions on the field. It's actually like psychology and the mentality of a Tim Kelly type player. I don't think he's actually got a problem with like contested ball winning, and at Geelong he got it on the outside. It's more he gets into that West Coast team and he doesn't have those directors and conductors around him that absolutely know what they're doing and know the system. And then all of a sudden it's a bit chaotic and he has to be the one that almost feels like he does everything.
You should also remember he joined like professional football pretty late in life.
Yeah, 21, wasn't he?
I think later. Yeah, 24 or 25.
Yeah, right.
He also has a lot of external things going on in his life, which, probably takes a bit of the focus away as well. So in a lot of regards, I agree with everything that's been said, but I just wanted to put that out there. Tim Kelly's probably had a few challenges that others haven't.
Sure,
That's
sure.
a good point. Yeah.
And from what you were saying there, Pommy, too, like I think about North Melbourne and it's like where you actually put the capital that you're spending into these players, because I reckon a player like Will Phillips kind of fits this as well, where we've just drafted too many midfielders. So all of our draft capital has gone into that space, and someone like a Will Phillips ends up getting delisted. He could probably do a job at North Melbourne if we had like dispersed our talent a bit differently.
Yes.
He'd still be in the team. He wouldn't have been delisted. He would have been doing well. Maybe he's not a superstar. I don't think he's ever going to be a superstar. But you got to think about that too. You can't just go, he's the best available talent, and just keep bringing them in like that.
It's interesting as well. I will point out that sometimes big, powerful, successful clubs do make dumb decisions as well.
Sure.
So the one that never gets talked about is I haven't actually researched this, but I should have. But I'd be keen to see how much Collingwood paid to get Dane Beams back. Ooh. I reckon it was at least 2 firsts.
I think it was like big 14 and something.
Yeah, and so that got them nothing, and yet they didn't capitulate as bad as West Coast did. So there's a lot more going on there. Even with Zach Merritt here and the Hawthorn offer, right? I know it didn't go through. And I know Zach Merritt is, in terms of the legacy, he's a fair bit above a Tim Kelly. Although you compare it to Tim Kelly maybe when he won the All-Australian. But Zach Merritt was 31 and picks 10, 22 and a future first was the offer. I think that actually exceeds what West Coast paid for Tim Kelly. So, but we trust Hawthorn, right? Like we realise that it's unlikely that's going to blow up in their face, but I'm just saying that there are clubs who do this stuff and it doesn't come off, or then maybe we're a little inconsistent with the way we see it. But we can trust Hawthorn.
This isn't a dig on Tim Kelly at all. Like I do
We've
that.
gone deep on it.
No, but I'm with you. I would.
You
do
did
it.
say before though, but
No, but
You were making a general
you
point.
do it, but
Yeah.
my general point is good teams, Collingwood, Hawthorn, right? They see the target, they see the skill deficit in their list, and they back the skill deficit in. So what I'm saying is, in Hawthorn's case, I think they would have done the Tim Kelly deal, but they would have said, what's Tim Kelly's best skill? When he's on the outside, when he's getting the ball, let's find the guy that can do that so we can do it. I'm not having a dig, but I'm saying what happens is, you just mentioned it with North, they get the best midfielder. I don't think you've drafted too many midfielders when I base it on how the media works. If, when you had pick 2, you pulled out a key defender that is 11th on everyone's power rankings, you would have been slated, wouldn't you? Brady Rawlins, there would have been effigies burnt in Arden Street.
exactly. But you're not slated if you win a premiership.
Yeah, so the problem is that's the issue with our industry. I think list managers are reluctant to go, you know what, pick 2, I need a key defender. They would take the midfielder. So I think, in the end of the day, we need teams to be more bullish, to not appease the media. Because I agree, you've got too many midfielders on the list, but what were they meant to do? Like, could you imagine if you went Alex Tyree
I was so keen.
Yeah, but can you imagine if they did that? Because they would have slated straight away. So I think the big teams are comfortable in doing the bold calls because they look at end game. I think the smaller teams are worried about membership revenue next year when everyone falls off. Oh, Cal Toomey told us Alex Tyru's 11. We took him too.
I agree. I agree with that. Absolutely. Should we get into some content ideas
Oh,
here?
yeah,
Sure. We have a couple of super chats that we missed.
We
And
do.
I didn't want to
I wanted to
interrupt the
get back
flow,
to that,
so
yeah.
I reckon we go through those. Is there a way to get them up?
There are. We just got to go back until we see
Okay.
some beautiful
There was a
colours.
yellow. I reckon
If
the
you
yellow
click
one was
top
the-
Yeah,
fans,
okay, yeah.
if you click top chat, you can actually limit it to just
Can
paid. Yeah.
Can you really?
Okay. We'll use
No,
that.
go top chat and then
the
it'll
top
go
corner?
paid.
That'll put them up there, will it?
Great.
Thanks for that tip, Pommy.
Yeah, it's
Love
just
your
like
work.
a-
So we've got JSEP gave a $10 donation. Thank you so much for that. Do the Lions look at getting a Stars replacement in this draft? If so, whom?
Well, they tried to get Butterick, didn't they?
Miss Broderick. He went to the Dogs, yeah.
Yeah, he went to the Dogs.
He's more of a forward though, isn't he?
He was
yeah,
this
but
year.
I think he's played his best footy as that small defender. If I had to guess, that's what
He was
they were
drafted
getting
as a
him for.
defender.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that's what Brisbane wanted out of him. Is there anyone in this draft that kind of suits that? I can't really think.
I reckon you're looking bottom end of the table if you're
Definitely.
picking up a sort of back pocket.
Yeah,
I
absolutely,
mean Jackson Voss could potentially be one that could be picked up in that regard.
What's their where would their first open draft pick come in? The Lions
I
after.
haven't looked at that.
It's
up.
hard to know because
But
the
they've got
animal,
multiple. They've got like, is it Harrison Bridges or something? Is that one of their players?
Harrison
They've
Bridge.
got a Bridge.
They've got Prindable
Yeah.
as an no, sorry, is he Brisbane? Yeah, no, he's
I thought he was.
Boys,
Yeah.
yep.
Yep. Whether they're going to take those, I think they'll probably make rookie one. You could, I mean, if they had a pick in the 30s, they could take someone like a Rory Wright. A little bit different to a Stars, but he has that midfield utility as well.
They've still also got not much out of Tom Dode, which we kind of
That's
figured out. He's
true.
done a couple
Yeah.
of ACLs.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I guess the question there is, like, do they need a Stars replacement? I would say no.
I don't think so, no.
No.
I do think the issue is, though, Queensland, like you, at WA, here in Victoria, we don't really care. And I do think Printable, I think Bridge, you've mentioned, I think all of Gold Coast boys, like Jai Murray and stuff, they play in 90% of the Victorian teams. So I do think that you'll be actually shocked that Bridge...
Bridge is good.
He's very
He's
good.
very good. He's been injured.
And if he was Victorian, we'd probably be talking about he's the smoky in the draft like Sam Allen.
100%.
But because he's Queensland, we're like, lurgy, rubbish player.
Yeah, I mean, they just get put aside a little bit, all of those players that are connected to clubs. But yeah, Bridge, I think he's something a bit different for them too, because they've had the Ashcroft brothers, they've had Dan Annable. They're all those like really inside technical midfielders. And then they get Bridge, who's that more outside run player, who's probably someone they actually need.
I mean, do they need anybody?
I mean, they don't need, no.
I was going to say, they just want to
What
flex.
they want.
Yeah. No, honestly, I hope he doesn't make it to Brisbane because screw Brisbane. That's my point.
Yeah, it's a very good call. The next one here is from Lewis, a regular contributor to the show. He's given $5. Thank you very much, mate. Hey, guys, is it best for West Coast in a whole to have Dersma and CDT at picks 1 and 2 in a whole, or to trade 1 and 2 for picks 5, 6, 7, and 8 and get a group of good talent in? I love these kind of questions where you've got
that's good. I like that. Well done, Lou.
I think the only issue is like 2 for 7 and 8 could maybe make sense in this hypothetical world. We have to assume that Melbourne are willing to pay 7 and 8 for 2 hypothetically. That one's not crazy. 5 and 6 for 1 probably seems pretty extremely unlikely. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty.
Would I be
I
correct?
did
West Coast
a
favour.
I did a DVI calculator, like a recalculation
Did you?
recently.
Yeah.
5 and 6 for 1 is almost exactly what I think is what 1 is worth.
Is that a
roughly.
general draft ranking thing, or does it take into account the rankings of this year? Is it,
Not so much this year. No,
Yeah.
it's historically. Like you would get similar value of the players you get at 5 and 6 to
Yeah,
a
okay.
player at 1.
because it does vary. Like I mean, even last year, or maybe not last year, but I'd say this year is vastly different to say the Harley Reed draft, where clubs were clamoring for that pick.
Yep.
Whereas this year, I think 5 and 6 are sharp and are coming probably exceeds a Dersma on his own.
Yeah,
You guys are the draft
Would I be
guys,
correct?
but-
Essendon have got 9 as well, like under Kaltumi's solution.
Yeah. We'll have to wait till it happens
Yes.
live.
Yeah,
But
I've
let's
got
say
to
that happened.
calibrate that in my brain.
Would you say that like 5 and 9 though for 2? Let's just say that's it. Would you do that as an Eagle? Because 5 potentially could be Dyson Sharp, which is what you
Yeah.
need.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'd absolutely
9
do
is
that.
a coming or someone of that ilk as well. So you're suddenly getting that sexy midfield in.
That's a no-brainer for West Coast. I just don't know if Essendon would offer that.
The question is, I think for me, the pick one is the thing that would stop anybody, stop West Coast from trading it off, because I think Dersma's just lifted himself too high now.
Sure. Yes.
I agree, but who would do you buy into? When I look at Essendon, I mean this with all due respect. I think it's the same as the Eagles. Their tolls and their ruckman. I think CDT is better than them, but I don't think he's a need in the terms of I'll change my entire list fabric to get him in. But he is better than all the guys I've got.
I would if I was Essendon.
Really?
Yeah. Who have they got? As a toll, they don't have any ruckman.
I think Vigo, they've put a lot of time into Vicentini.
No,
I think they've put a lot of time into Brian.
Or something.
Nick Bryan.
No, but I think they've put a lot of time into it in the terms of if I look at Essendon's list, am I thinking fix the rucks forward
St Kilda put a lot of time into whatever his name was in Allen, that was a full forward analyst for 8 years that played 4 games. Doesn't mean it's going to happen.
I'd counter and I'd say that I think paying that much money for TDK when you've already got the...
No, but it's not the point. I'm talking about Cooper Duff-Taylor versus Essendon's tools.
But I
there's
think
no tools on Essendon that are as good as Cooper Duff-Taylor.
I think there's worth a year in Nick Bryan. I would say priority.
I don't.
I want
He just had an MCL done.
I would
agree. And he had
agree.
one before that as well.
I agree
There's
with
no
the
point.
need for the toll. I agree with Woody on that. But the problem is for Essendon, it's like they have such a dearth of leadership. Like, what is going on there as far as who's going to carry this group? Who's going to bring everyone together? Merritt wants to leave. He's your captain. Then you're stuck with Andy McGrath types who the fans hate or have hated. I mean, he is a pretty good leader. You've got in the midfield, Durham. Like, who else? Cordwell.
I agree. So that's why I think if they do this trade for 2, there's a chance that these leadership types fall, and then you can say CDT is the benefit. The problem is if they've only got 5 and 6, I would be... If you told me 5 and 6 gets you 2 and Essendon are getting CDT and another guy later, I'd say that's mental. If they can find a way to bring him in and still get that midfield help and that leadership
I agree,
help,
but they can't pay overs for it.
Yes.
Like, they can't bring in another project for me.
I would also say Eagles have to ask for overs.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
The Eagles are in that situation where I want 5 and 6 for 2.
But that's where the trade is just going to fizzle out.
Yeah, I don't think it works.
But I think it goes through. I've got this horrible feeling we're in the AFL, and for that trade to be Cal Toomey knows about it. Someone's obviously said yes at some point in time, which makes it, because if 5 and 6, if let's just say it's 5 and 9, was it?
5 and 9.
For
5
2?
and 9, yeah.
Or 6 and 9.
Let's just say if you're telling me Essendon trade up for CDT, I think that's a mental trade, because I don't think your team wants a big CDT. I think they'd rather have a midfielder. So now you're saying it's Dyson Sharp, it's Sam Cumming, it's a player that we actually want. We're
Richmond will
this deal.
take him.
What if it's trading up for Sullivan Roby?
I was about to
I was
ask
going to
that
say,
same
we're
thing.
assuming it's CDT.
Yeah.
What if it's...
If it is, I think you still want that deal.
Yeah, probably. Well, I think it's certainly where we'd be happy with it. So, yeah, I mean, what's the trade-off there for Essendon? Sullivan Roby, and it's cost them Dyson Sharp and who would be there at 9?
Coming.
No, Coming would be
Grill.
because they still have their own pick 6.
Grill, yeah.
Yeah, maybe a Grill.
Farrow.
Yeah, that's caliber.
Or then you'd start to get into those other positions, like you could go a Dobston,
Yeah.
a Schubert.
They could use
But
Dobson, but they're going to get swayed and stuff.
They won't draft a small forward. Kako, Swade.
But that's my issue again with Essendon. They've taken that picture with Xavier Taylor, Locker Doveston, Sullivan Roby at training. It creates the vibes. I love covering Essendon. I do it on Fiona's channel. So even though I'm a Carlton fan, I've got a soft spot for Essendon because I cover them every week.
And they feel a bit like Carlton.
Yeah.
Timu Carlton.
To be fair, when I look in my life, apart from my wife and kids, everything's Carlton, to be fair. But when I look at it, Sullivan Roby, again, Essendon trading the world for a guy that I don't think you can back is going to be the highest ceiling. I think Essendon are in a situation where we've got the sexy talent potentially. We need to improve our internals, our leadership, our communication.
Completely agree.
I think they need more Archie Roberts and less Kakos.
I agree with you. I wonder when their next opportunity to take a bona fide, good tall is. Because they're not going to get one after next year. Like next year is their very last opportunity as Essendon to get a tall, good, either Ruckman, forward, whatever you want to have him.
Patrick Voss would be nice right about now.
Patrick Voss would be nice, but
He would be, yeah.
but it's just that's where I go. They will have opportunities to get midfielders, good midfielders. They won't get many more opportunities to get good tall ruckmen or tall forwards.
What if they go 5, 6, Sharp coming, and then in this scenario have 9 and they take Schubert?
So they get
That ticks all those boxes. That's probably what I want as a fan,
That's
rather
not
than
bad.
trading up
That's
the
not
series.
So they
bad.
get what, Roby?
No, so there's no trade with West Coast. Let's say
Oh.
they just go, well, there's the current hand, if that trade goes through, that Toomey reported would be 5, 6, and 9. So that's Sharp coming and
Yeah.
Schubert.
Yeah.
That's not bad. That's probably what the fans would want.
If they get Schubert, that's probably not bad.
And you'd think they have a good chance at Schubert at 9. Like, it seems unlikely anyone would go take him first.
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, it would be a surprise if Melbourne
Even it's still oh no, they would be after Melbourne.
be after
Sorry, it would
Melbourne's
be
picks,
after.
but I think it would
Yeah.
still be a surprise if they took him at this point.
Yeah.
Now it's interesting. I probably disagree on the Sullivan Roby point that he has that potential, I think, to be that,
Yes.
big-bodied forward mid killer, but they don't always work out. I don't think he's the same quality as Sam Lawler from last year. He doesn't have the same technical ability on the ball, but he is bash and crash and he can kick goals and stuff like that. It's kind of that comes down to like how much they rate the guys on their list, because they sort of have, I think in a way Durham is that type. He's like a mid that can go forward, and you've also got Archie Perkins, but he's becoming
Caldwell as well. Like
You
there's a
see, I
few-
look at Essendon's list and I just think CDT is the kind of move I'd make if I was 9th.
if you were at,
Like, if I traded up for pick 2, if I was 9th, yes, CDT's there. I'm like, okay, that's better. I disagree with Woody. I think if you look at next year, where Essendon provisionally finish next year, well, let's say bottom 5, let's be safe. Yeah. I think you will still get in the access of a very good key toll. I think Essendon's situation at the minute is they've got a lot of junior key tolls. You're better off buying an established one. And I would also ask, when was the last elite key forward won you the flag?
well, I agree with that.
Jeremy Cameron did pretty well.
Yeah, I would.
What, ruck forward?
I mean, he did the whole.
No, but ruck forward. But that's what I mean.
He did do that.
So I think if you actually look at the data points that win you the flag, it's transition. It's your ability to spread from contested football, right?
I'd say first hands and like
No,
intercept.
but you can negate
go.
that.
Yeah,
You can negate that quite easily with the bang average ruckman, because no offence
The
to
only
Oscar
thing I'd throw
McInerney.
back at that though, Brisbane, I feel like we had a couple of years there where it was all transition, but like Brisbane's major strength for me, it's winning contests forward of the ball with those Raina Bailey types, but it's also those technical mids that get their hands on the ball. They're not necessarily, like Brisbane are a bit different because they're not those like big bodied, physical, powerful mids that like burst out the front of stoppage, but they just get the hands out.
Yeah.
They get guys into
Well,
space.
that's where the reason I think first hands and intercept possessions are most important in footy is because over 78% of all scores or scoring chains are generated from that. Like one of those two data points is the generation for their scoring chain. So for me, I just don't think that like you're gonna get first hands with Vicentini or whoever like that, right? Or not often, and then you don't like get an opportunity. Like as much as we're talking about different players, but you don't get an opportunity to go in deep if you've got barely any defenders that can get it out of there, barely anybody up forward that can take a proper mark. Like I just
I'd
think
agree
they're
with you,
so
Woody, but
desperate
there's a
for
reason
tall.
that, bar 2, the last 20 flag winners have been top of transition football, defensive half.
Yeah, definitely.
So, like,
yeah.
Carlton were in 2 years ago were the number 1 contested side, winning the ball out. Cripps, you can't argue with it. He's the best in the league. But the problem is it's what you do with it from there.
Yeah.
So I would say that we are statistically proven in the last 10 years that ruckmen are irrelevant. Even if you change the rules, I could still say that you look at it, you can still fight it with the ability to be good second efforts, good at third efforts. The new AFL rules of the line and there being an uncontested area, I would still say you'll be shocked the amount of ruckmen next year.
That's going to be really
good.
interesting how all that plays out, because I reckon the other one in that is the lack of the sub,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is now going to bring in that extra running ruckman as well. And like pretty much every one of those rules that have been brought in have some sort of a benefit of like transition football and just the game speeding up, like the ball's in play more. So those ruckmen that are going to be able to run and get to more contests. You could see situations where like those bigger, older, slower ruckmen just can't get to the contest.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll see that this year at Hawthorn, right? As much as I like Meek, I reckon Reeves is going to overtake him. Yeah, and it's just the type of ruck, right?
But I would say people say Brisbane. Why are Brisbane so good? Brisbane, like you look at their midfield. Like, I always played this game. My pop used to scout for Division 1 in them old days for the Premier League. It is now for football. He used to say to me, if you ever want to play a game, son, pick the best 11 versus the opposition's 11 and then choose who you would have from each team. And it's a very rudimentary, basic system. You look at Brisbane's list, if you actually look at it just at the core stats, you're probably not picking 23 players from Brisbane. You're probably picking other players.
15 or so, yeah, depending on who you're looking at.
So there's a reason that there's no such thing in the world that they've got the best team. Why Brisbane have got the best team in the league is because it's so well balanced. It can play dirty, it can play sexy, it can play transition, it can play contested, right? That's the problem why if you compare Carlton to Brisbane, if it's an ugly shit fight, Carlton have got a chance. If you're playing it on the outside and you're playing it expansive football, Carlton might as well go back to Melbourne and have a beer down.
But Brisbane, that's what you said. I mean, I think you're spot on there with Brisbane. They can flip into these different modes.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
They've got elite small forwards that can win contests ahead of the ball when they need to, work in those tight spaces. They've got outside players that can carry the ball. They've got the kickers like Zorko off half-back and Fletcher and Wilmot and these guys that can control the football when you just need to go into tempo and you're tired. And then they've got the technical guys. So if they need to win a stoppage, they'll get it out. They just have pretty much every box covered. They've got a couple of good key position forwards as well.
This is very similar to the idea that Champion Data use versus control versus chaos, right? And to break it down to anybody that's heard these terms but don't know what it is, essentially it's if you're a controlled footy, you're taking more marks than you are getting ground ball gets. And if you're playing chaos footy, it's the other way around. You're getting more ground ball gets than marks. So I think the benefit that Brisbane has is they have, as mentioned, they have the ability to swap that.
They can beat you both ways.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think if you are really like determined to play one style of football, you can get beaten, and no matter how good you are, right? So I think that's where you need to have that flexibility that, you know, going back to Visentini and all these rucks and all that, I don't think that, you know, getting Cooper Duff-Tyler is a bad thing at two, because he is a flexible ruck and he has the potential to be more.
I agree, but if you're telling me it's just Cooper Duff-Tyler and one midfielder, I'd say Essendon have completely cooked their management. Just because you think CDT is better, not looking ahead to next year where they could probably get a below CDT ceiling, but above his floor.
See, I'd be happy as an Essendon, if I was in charge of Essendon, I'd be happy with either CDT and a midfielder, because it's a very good quality.
And what's your core average position for the last 20 years? With all due respect, I'm not taking the piss, but I'm saying Brisbane's mentality is higher.
Yeah,
Geelong's
certainly,
higher
but they have
mentality.
again now they have a better floor. If we talked 10 years ago, Essendon looked better than Brisbane. So for me,
and what did Brisbane do?
Well, yeah, of
is
course.
my point. They killed average and made average better.
Well, they won those 50-50s. Every opportunity where it could have gone right or wrong, they pretty much got it right.
That's my point with Essendon. Essendon are in a situation right now where they've got probably 7 or 8 players, generational players for Essendon in the next 10 years. They've got to add that hardness, but also that consistency. They've got players like Kako that one day could turn the game.
Yeah.
Next game, do nothing.
No,
They
you're
need
right.
to bring and raise their ceiling. So when you say to me, is Visentini the most important thing? From them being bottom 4 to fifth bottom to 8th bottom? I don't think it is. I think their midfield is to be better, because next year, if you tell me Merritt goes...
Yeah, of course.
And he'll probably go for less than he did this year.
Merritt's not going to be
but what I'm saying
involved
is
in the
Merritt's
next premiership.
Merritt's huge. So I'm saying if you've got CDC, Visentini's better, right? We've got CDC. He's better than Visentini. CDT's better. Well, who they're bringing in to replace Merritt? Who is, if you look at Merritt from a statistical point of view, not many players do that.
They'll get 5 more first round, like in the top 5 draft picks. They're not getting out of the bottom 4 for like a very long time.
But that mentality there is like Jay Baggers, g'day mate, good mate of mine, love him to pieces. But like he's saying, why did Carlton trade with the enemy? This is the AFL. This isn't the EPL. You ain't going to get glassed because you like an AFL team. This is a professional sport. Carlton have got to get better. So has Essendon. Essendon's got to remove that arrogance of going, CDT is the genius. But I'm telling you, it's a genius move as CDT comes in. And Dyson Sharp and Sam Cunningham come in the next two picks.
This is the point that I just haven't gotten to yet. So my only, because I think you're not wrong per se, but the only difference in my point is that I think they should be targeting top-end talent, and whether that's the top-end midfielder, top-end ruckman, whatever it is, right? They need to get that type of player through. And realistic, like I think back to, as a Saints fan, like Dunstan or Akers or something like that. They provided enough at the time, whereas if we had 5 and 6 and they were just two kind of average players, I'd be bloody annoyed. And we had that as a St Kilda fan. We had Hunter Clark and we had Nick Caulfield. Both of them turned out pretty
I'll
fucking
ask you this.
shit.
Who's the CDT? His comparison, everyone says he's what? Luke Jackson.
Luke Jackson,
Which I hate. I think it's horrible.
I think it's more Rowan, but yeah, go.
Well, to me, let's just go top end. I think it could be Max Gorn. I think he could be that good.
What can I just say one thing here with why is everybody off the Luke Jackson comparison?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that I think when you think Luke Jackson, he's not a genius ruckman and he's not a genius forward. He's just very good at both. When you're thinking Max Gorn, you think best ruckman and solid forward.
Jackson's vertical leap.
I look at CDT as more of a forward who can ruck at an elite level.
My thing with CDT, the thing with him for me, it's not necessarily his ruck work, but it's the part that's the same as Jackson is the follow up at ground level.
Yeah, he
gets after the ball. Yeah,
I'm with you.
Yeah, no, he's dog hungry at chasing the ball.
But my argument
level.
is to go with what Woody's saying. Let's just say God came down, gave me a magical wand, and said I can turn Vigo Vicentini into Max Gorn Prime 25. Right? Are the Bombers top 4 because that's changed? Let's just say I'll make it even better. I'll say this: Max Gorn in the ruck and Jeremy Cameron up forward. So he's become a hybrid of them. With the list they've got now in this year, are they top 4? Absolutely not.
No,
and if you say that,
they're not top 4, but they're better.
But that's it's lowbrow mentality. Being better, 13th is better than finishing 15th. It's about winning the flag, Dylan.
But that's
I agree with you.
Dyson Sharp too. Let's say if they picked him at 5 and you told them that's Dusty Martin, they're still not top 4, right?
But Dyson Sharp is the type of player that is the black drop that makes stars shine brighter.
I agree with that.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
Yes, Sharp at 2 is mental from seeding avenue, but Dyson Sharp makes Angus Clark get easier ball on the outside and penetrate the game. He's better that he makes Sam Durham have to work less hard on the defensive avenue and then maybe develop into a Matt Rowell, who we saw in the last 2 years. Matt Rowell has developed an offensive game, which everyone criticised him for. I think if you're telling me pick 2, who would I rather have, Pom? Gun to your head. Rather have Dyson Sharp. Like, if you're telling me Essendon trade these picks and they have 2, 5 and 9, and if you told me it's CDT, Sharp and then Lockie Doverston, I'd want to shoot myself. If you told me 2, 5 and 9 is Sam Cumming, CDT and Sharp, I'd be like, okay, the Essendon team are serious now.
This Essendon team, like they've been in this holding pattern for like 10 years where they bring in the players that like good players, but they just don't get the job done. And I feel like they don't have that foundation. Look at what Dyson Sharp did for South Australia at the Under-18 National Championships. They didn't go into that as the favourites. That was completely unexpected. Everyone thought they were going to lose to the Allies in the first game. Everyone thought the talent at Vic Metro was going to be better. They would probably finish, 4th or 5th overall in that crop. And he just lifted them. Every time they were down, he got them up.
No, I agree with you. And to answer Curious's question, mate, no one loves CDT more than me. I did a PR video on CDT because he was getting some hate. My issue is CDT is brilliant in the right team that is desperate for him. So my point is, if you're telling me Essendon are selling their entire future for CDT, mental. Yeah. Even though he's brilliant, it will be a situation like Cowan had in 2018. Oh, we've got Patrick Cripps, one of the best midfielders in the world, but you take Cripps out of that team, it's also got Lockie O'Brien on the wing, which is laughable. It's got Paddy Dow on the ball, which I'll be honest, my wife could be a better midfielder than Paddy Dow. And my wife has spent about as much time playing football as I have folding the laundry, which my wife tells me off for, right? So there's the point. Yes, he's a better player pound for pound, but we're talking about list management, and the best teams are the most balanced. They don't have the most stats.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. And I think Sharp brings something like intangible for Essendon. I think the thing too that's kind of been played in here with the Sharp thing is this idea that the game is going very heavy transition. And he's obviously like a stoppage beast kind of player. But again, like we talked about that balance thing before, you still need those guys. It's not as if they don't exist in the AFL. So just because the game is moving that way doesn't mean that he's necessarily... like for teams that already have players like that are in the sweet spot in their early 20s or whatever, it probably applies to them, but it doesn't apply to Essendon or West Coast.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I don't want to make this about West Coast, we can stay on Essendon, but I'm curious, based on all of your logic there, would you say that applies for, this is a question from Pommy, by the way, because I know Dylan's opinion, but like everything you just said also applies to West Coast, in my opinion. So do you advocate that they take Darcy Sharp at pick 2?
I think with West Coast, again, my situation changes with West Coast because you have 1, 2 and 13. So I am quite comfortable with you. Let's just say no trades happen. 1, Will Dersma, 2, CDT, 13, you're banking on the next best midfielder.
You won't get him though.
I am quite comfortable with you taking that risk in the terms of potentially I've watched the draft for 5 years, 6 years.
Someone will
in
slip
depth.
through.
Someone always does something stupid.
See,
right?
we did your live stream on your channel on the draft, and I did that exact strategy, and I ended up with Noah Hibbert instead of.
But back to when we started this show, if I was your Eagles manager, I would be trying to trade that for 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. Trying to get 2 for that.
Yeah.
If it didn't happen, like I said back to the start of the show, you are in a horrible position, like you were on my draft show, that you either take CDT because he's the best player, or hope 5, 6, 7, and 8 has a brain fart and he slides. And that's what's beautiful about the draft. But I am telling you, in reality, it won't happen because I will guarantee right now, with no trades, 3 to 12, someone will make a complete pig's ear of it.
TL73 makes a good point here. So 1 Dersma, 2 CDT, 13
Greaves.
Oliver Greaves, because I think he will be there.
I think he will be.
All right, let's quickly go through everyone. If 1 and 2 are Dersma CDT, who would you take at 13?
Based on
Just those 2 are taken. You know, we're expecting, you know, who we roughly expect to be top 10 or so. Who would you take at 13?
you would hope that someone like Jacob Farrow or Sam Cumming was still available, but I think it's very unlikely that they will be. I think Greaves will be available, so I would take Greaves. But also, I think I would still take, if I was West Coast, because I don't think Greaves is as good as Dyson Sharp. So I wouldn't take him over, say, Doveston if he's there.
See, that was... Yeah. If Doveston was available at 13, I think he's one of the best pickups possible.
Oh, I agree. So I think you have to do that.
But you see, that goes back to what I'm saying. The worst drafting is just taking what you want because it's better, as opposed to
thinking you get some sort of a financial win.
Like when I look at Tyler Williams, I think what I like about Tyler Williams is Lockie Doveston thinks defence is for idiots. Where Tyler Williams has already got that hunger to hurt you. He chases you. He chases really hard. So I look at Doveston and think it's easier to teach you to kick goals. Because you've already got the natural flair on the ball ground. You've also got the natural flair on goal kicking. You've got that arrogance. We can teach you that. My issue is if they took Doveston when they've also got Tyler Williams, I'd be like, okay, you've got a better version of Tyler Williams, but I've seen teams improve Tyler Williams to the levels. How many mid-40s picks have you seen become the best small forwards in the league? I would also flip that and say, how many inside midfielders have you seen being taken in obscurity?
We've also seen
more smalls.
We've also seen.
I'd say that you get more. You're more likely to get a better midfielder from the 40s than you are a small forward.
Yes, I agree. I think the team we've seen from teams like Carlton and North Melbourne that if you don't invest in small forwards, you don't pay up.
Yeah, but Carlton have gone with the theory of we'll just get for someone who is a midfielder.
Kind of, but I mean,
Carlton have never gone. Carlton have gone with the archaic rule that small forwards have to defend and kick goals and be an all-rounder. Where you look at the great teams like the Dogs. I remember when Nick Austin, it's always surprised me about Carlton.
Just give me with Carlton, just to cut you off there, but like give me a player that they've a small forward that they've drafted in the top 20
Jesse Motlop's close.
He's,
I don't know if he was
he's
top
on the
20.
fringe.
on the fringe.
He's on the fringe.
Who's in it though? Who's the first rounder?
Small forward.
Eddie Betts would have been the
We
last,
haven't.
wouldn't he?
And
Yeah.
Eddie
Eddie
Betts
wasn't
was
even
late.
first.
Like
Yeah,
He was late, yeah.
So the problem is, that's what I'm saying. Carlton don't value that because Carlton still have that arcade. Like, I remember Nick Austin. I was so excited when Carlton signed Nick Austin as our list manager because I remember when he took Cody Waitman at 10. And I remember even Cal Toomey slated him for picking a small forward in the first round of the draft. You can pick these guys up at 30. Cody Waitman's brilliant.
Yeah, he's
exactly what you need.
I agree.
So but the problem is that to counter the point, Carlton, they're trading what I'm saying don't do. Pick 2, the logical thing is CDT. That's a Carlton trade. Oh, you can't pass up CDT.
Yeah.
It's generational talent, but we need this. We need this.
And also, like,
we
how
need
is he going to
this.
fit into this group?
Yeah, we need this, we need that first. So for me, that's one of the big things where we've got to get out of that mindset. Yes, pick 2 on an open board, if my list was balanced, is CDT. If I'm anyone else that's not these teams, though, it's pointless. Do you know what I mean? So it's like starving in the desert and saying your 2 options are press button 1, you'll get steak and chips, or press button 2, you'll get water. But, oh no, steak and chips is more expensive. You've got to pick one.
Yeah.
To be fair, if you're giving me steak and chips and water, I'm taking
No,
steak
I
and chips.
think Tommy
I'm
makes
going to die happy.
I think Tommy makes a good point about sometimes the perception of value because there's always this thing in the draft. West Coast saw it last year, and like maybe there's some truth in it at times, but we got these sliders. So all of a sudden, I love how we're just all watching this. So your draft last year, Jesse, you had Bo Allen, not really in this conversation, but then you got like Shanahan, you got Gross. Both were considered to be sliders in the draft. So all of a sudden, you had a great draft, but they slid for a reason. So the value is only perceived. Like we don't actually get to see that play out on the field until it actually plays out. I think Ashton Moyer was a good example of that as well for you guys. He hasn't really done much since he's got into the AFL, but at one point he was considered a number 1 pick, so he's a slider.
Don't be mean to my Ashy.
Nothing against him.
Ashy, if you're watching, I love you, brother. No, I agree. And look, Curious's point is what annoys me about the AFL. You're missing it. I am not telling you that you don't take best available.
It's not about needs.
But what I'm saying is, in an ideal world, there is some idiot club out there, like Melbourne, for argument's sake, saying, hello, Jesse, you're the Eagles. I will give you 8 and 9 and guarantee you that the players you need will be here and I'll throw in a future second. That's what's hard for list managers. I am agreeing you've got to take best available at pick 2, right? But in reality, when we're talking list management, CDT is a less of a need, even though he's brilliant.
Yeah, I don't think though. For me, the only difference I would say in that, and maybe it's just semantics, but it's like I don't think that taking Dyson Sharp at 2 for the West Coast Eagles, it's not needs in the sense of like a positional need in the same way. It's more of a cultural need and rebuilding the football club. So it's a club building thing.
To be fair, like I think, Pommy, you're right in a lot of ways. Building for like needs has a time and a place. But probably not in the first couple of picks of the draft for me. For me, I think you find the best player available to you. If that doesn't work out, fair enough, that doesn't work out. As I said earlier, if Harley Reed doesn't stay at West Coast, fair enough, he doesn't stay at West Coast. I'm hoping then, in that case, that I get a first-round pick back to add with another top 2-3 pick. Because I'd be saying Harley's got experience, he wants to go, fair enough, but I want proper return. And I think that's where, for me, best available is pretty much the best thing to do until you get into almost the second round. Pick 20 or so, and then it's all right, what do I need?
My rebuttal to that is though, like, what is best available? What does that actually mean as well? Because that's subjective, right? It's like every club's draft board is going to be slightly different. So you're always implementing somewhat of a list need into every selection every time, unless there's so much of a gap that it's impossible to pass on someone.
Yeah.
My issue is, Dylan, when people say best available, like let's just say, argument's sake, Melbourne are rebuilding, which they are. Let's just say they have Max gone, right? And let's just say they have Luke Jackson. Let's say they still have him. Pick 2 comes up. Pick 1, you go Will Dersma. Are we having the conversation they've got pick Cooper Duff Tyler?
Wait, say that again. Say that again.
So to the argument of best available at the time, let's say Melbourne finished 17th last year. They've got pick 2.
Yep.
So let's say this discussion, right now is pick 2. If Will Dersma goes pick 1, even though they've got Max Gawn and Luke Jackson on their list, let's say they have him. Are we still saying pick 2? They've got to take Cooper Duff Tyler.
I think that's even a better selection for them because they've got an aging Max Gawn. They've got the tutelage that Cooper Duff Tyler can play under him. He can come in there, and we saw what happened with Luke Jackson. There's the evidence is there. So I would say for them, yes.
Yeah,
They've got leaders in that Melbourne team. They're not like West Coast or Essendon for me. They're
I agree with you. I'd say in terms to validate your point, if you'd say looked at Cox back in the day, right?
And I have.
Yeah.
Well played.
He's been over there in the corner, not saying much for the last 15 minutes.
Well
I
played.
told you that in confidence, Woody.
Sorry, bro. I didn't mean to out you like that.
Good work.
Yeah, no. Jesus. What was I
Completely
saying?
ruined the
I
flow.
can't
I'm
remember.
sorry.
No, I got you. So Cox back in the day when he retired, right? There wasn't a ton to step up into his position. There was
Oh, we had Nick Nat.
Did he come through straight?
Yeah, they played together.
Oh, I thought there was a bit
Yeah.
of time in between. Oh, okay, fair enough.
They were both
My
all
apologies.
Australian rucks in 2012.
Okay, yeah, I got that really wrong. My
That's
bad. My bad. All right, well then I don't have much of a point. My point was going to be, in case that wasn't the case.
Let's say that wasn't true.
Yeah, let's just say that didn't happen. My point would have been it would have been nice to have somebody like Nick Nat coming through.
Yeah. I can't imagine how good that would have been.
Yeah, it would have been really helpful. Maybe got you a premiership or something. Then, as Nick Nat's getting into 24 or 25 or so, and you're going, all right, well, Cox is gone. Nick's got to be in charge now. What happens if Nick goes down? And then we might be fucked. So that's kind of where I still think there's a reasonable. If you had a good ruck, if you're Melbourne, if you had Gawn, there's still a reasonable and Luke Jackson. There's still a reasonable reason to take CDT. It's still got.
I think there's a reasonable
Mind you,
reason.
we won the flag with Nick Nat out and Lysett and Vardy were premiership players.
Man, you're really not helping me.
So sorry.
I feel like that was more of a the Nick Nat being out thing though. It's not an argument against Ruckman for me. It's more of a Adam Simpson adapting to the situation, right?
Yeah. We fun fact. It doesn't add much, but we went from one of the worst contested ball sides from when he did his ACL, and then by the end of the finals, we were top 2.
Yeah.
So it's almost as though there was a big mentality shift, and we changed the way our midfield played. Fun fact. I thought that was kind of quirky.
Yeah, I know Champion Data have often mentioned that because they said that West
yeah.
Coast are kind of one of the teams that bucked the trend of winning a flag off not being a strong contested possession team, but they changed in the finals.
Yeah, I often think if we'd never made that change, we may not have won the flag.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, if Nick had stayed in the team, we may still have, but I just mean that time, that 8-week period there, if that doesn't happen,
Yeah.
we'd be
You became more sort of finals relevant with the way that you played.
Yeah.
Just on the Dyson Sharp, CDT, all of that kind of stuff, how does this affect Richmond? So they obviously sit there just in behind West Coast in a vastly different situation for me with how their list is, with the older experienced players that they have.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that I feel like they've been connected to almost every player at the top end of the draft? The Xavier Taylors, the Sam Grills, the Sullivan Robies, probably the 3 strongest connections. But I've seen them linked to Dyson Sharp. I've seen them linked to Sam Cumming as well. How do you guys see them going? And is it a different conversation for you guys for them compared to, say, Essendon or West Coast?
I think the first question you got to ask as well is, do they take CDT if he's there?
Yes.
Right, because that's a
would.
huge if. Okay, fair enough. The reason I put that out there is because given, they drafted a number of key forwards last year. So they got Armstrong and Fall and then Thomas Sims as a ruck forward. There's an argument to be made that they don't need to double down on that when they've got 2 valuable picks. So that's setting the scene, and you think they should still draft CDT.
Absolutely.
Justify that, please.
Well, they have Nankervis as their current ruckman, so he's got someone there that he doesn't have to come in and play that sole ruck role. I think he could be that guy for them that just actually starts as the bench player, comes on. He's more of that transition ruckman. He doesn't have to take up the bulk of the ruck role and be the absolute number one guy. He can kind of float into different positions. I think he can probably play a little bit behind the ball. He can play as a forward as well. You could play him as a tall winger in that Richmond team.
I'd even say that they played 8 key forwards last year.
Yep.
They don't have a solidified key forward structure. I mean, he's got an opportunity to take something straight away. Like whether that's centre half forward, like the second backup role on the bench to Nankervis, CDT at Richmond would start round 1, in my opinion.
100%. And they don't need him. It's not like positionally they need for a Cooper Duff Tytler, and I think that's why he's been less linked there than anywhere else. And the assumption that he's going to West Coast has probably factored into that as well. But if he's there, that makes perfect sense for me, just on star factor and how they can groom him.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I suppose the longer term projection. I'm so sorry. I can't help myself. When I made my last comment, someone in the chat said, "Every stream, Jesse, every stream."
The one father here isn't laughing. That's it.
It was good value. No, I gave him the kudos.
Yes, thank you. Where were we? CDT. Yeah, I suppose just in the long-term evolution, let's say all these players work out though. Sims, Fall, Armstrong, CDT, they're all playing the same team, the same forward line. Given that CDT is unlikely to be a number one, right?
Is there a little bit of a like offsetting there, projecting from Richmond though, where you go, we've drafted all of these guys, but they're probably not all going to
for sure. But again, like when you and I think this with West Coast, do you double down on what you already have a bit of, or do you target what you really need? Assuming the talent pool is even, right? Like or relatively even, so it's not like completely egregious to pick somebody else. Like, do you target what you really need in terms of list gaps, or do you double down on things that have already been addressed to some extent? That's the tricky part, I think. I'm actually not disagreeing with you as such, but I think there's an argument against Richmond taking CDT. I'd be surprised if they let him slip through to Essendon. What do you guys think on CDT and Richmond? Do you think there's suitability there?
I think so. I think if CDT gets past you, I think, depending on whether you pick up Roby or not, they'll go Roby and CDT for sure.
Okay, yeah.
Is Roby a lock? Oh, well, we'll get onto that next.
Sorry.
You go, Pommy, sorry.
Yeah, do you think Richmond should pull the trigger on CDT?
I think Richmond are in the sexiest position in the draft that they did so well last year. That you just take it at face value. So to counter what I've said earlier, I think they're in a position that Essendon Eagles aren't.
Well, Essendon have picks 6 and 9, which is sexier.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I just
It is.
it is indeed. It makes everyone happy, doesn't it? The 6 and 9.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
everyone walks away happy. Which
Everyone's
is
well fed.
It's a rare deal. As a married man of 12 years, it's hard to please both of us, but that's one way that does it. But I will say this. No, I agree with you. I think Richmond would be the type of team that takes CDT, but I also think Richmond are in that sexy position that they can create the CDT hype. So I think the Eagles are the best side I think Essendon and Eagles are the best side in this draft because the Eagles straight away said, we will bid on Dean, which created and that little clamour of, oh my God, 9's available, which also opened up everyone else.
Yeah.
Essendon did something else brilliant, where they said that they will take best available, they're looking to move up, but they don't care. They have no priorities, which again opened up their value on the trade table. So I think it's a fascinating predicament that Richmond have stayed quiet, and let's just say 1 and 2 are pick 1, Will Dersma, pick 2, Dyson Sharp. Suddenly, pick 3, Richmond are in this position of which one of you boys want CDT? They've gone the surprise. We're open to it. Who just wants it?
Who do you reckon does the first pick trade on the night?
Gold Coast.
It'll
Gold Coast within
either
2.5 seconds.
It'll either be West Coast or Gold Coast. Yeah.
For the 15?
Yeah, they'll do something like 15 first. I mean, I hate to say to you, but no, for the type of team that would go.
Aren't we already in
25,
for this?
26? That sounds like a good deal, maybe.
Aren't we in for this 11? I did it on your screen.
Yeah.
I even did it. It's in our blood.
Gold Coast, I think, for the last 5 years have been like the first to trade. So I do think that's like within 0.8 seconds.
Carlton will move those picks.
Yeah.
Oh, we will?
They'll move them.
I'd like to think we're intelligent and we wait to see what you guys do, though. Eagles do. Like, I hope we don't just go, Dylan goes, welcome to the AFL Draft 2026. And Carlton are like, oh my God, trade it.
But you would be a bit like, if you're actually, you have that job to get rid of that pick, you're going like, fuck, what if I can't get rid of it?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it would have been the worst case because, like, in a lot of mocks, let's say Harry Dean got bid on at 7 or 8. Like, that actually doesn't move their second pick. It wouldn't be the worst thing. On the other hand, if West Coast were bidding at pick 2, then that would actually push Carlton's pick to late first round or something like that. I'm not sure the exact specifics of that, but it would have had a pretty profound effect. There's a couple of things happening right now that I'm confused about. Also, I want to address, someone in the chat said, I reckon Dylan is the only one who knows what a 69 is out of us.
Teams are stupid.
I think we'll over.
Oh, because of my age?
I don't know.
Oh.
But you're not even the oldest here, so that doesn't make sense.
None needs to pick on me, though.
I'm used to it.
Like, we got the Ashes coming up soon. I don't need 3 Australians on my ass.
Oh, true, yeah.
When was the last time you had 3 Australians on your
I
ass?
was going to say, that's quite huge.
It'd probably been like that horrible moment where they put me on a sabbatical in Queensland to work over there when I was a bit younger.
I'm going to pivot, guys. I'm going to pivot here. I reckon we do this. I reckon everybody wants this.
Dying
Everyone's
for
been
the
asking me
bathroom.
this.
Are we doing a mock draft?
You guys start.
We're doing a mock draft, but we're not doing a mock draft. We're doing a mock. Well, we are. We are doing a mock draft. 2024 and 2025 crops all together.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus, you're making me research now.
Yeah, I need to
Like
think.
more of like a rankings.
Okay.
But let's not overcomplicate it and try to bring too much in form. Although you obviously can't unsee what you've seen at AFL level. Therefore, I find players difficult. Like Murphy Reed's difficult, Harvey Langford's difficult because they've come in, you've seen it, and that obviously elevates their draft stock. But we're sort of redrafting 2024 and 2025 in together, but trying to keep a balance of where they were sort of ranked in the 2024 crop as well.
I got to get the 2024 crop up
understand
to
the
remember
draft.
what happened.
At their points.
So just to simplify this into POM, put the 2025 draft in 2024.
Yeah. Yeah. So like essentially you're going like who's better? Where would you rank Sam Lawler?
Are we doing like a 1 to 10 or?
Let's do top 10.
Top 10?
Yeah, we'll do top 10. If we feel like it can be extrapolated.
Yeah, okay.
Let's do that as
fair,
well.
Fair. All right.
Okay, pick one straight away.
I feel like we should wait for Jesse
Yeah,
for this.
give him a moment.
Nah, just
Jesse.
just make him a surprise because from memory, didn't the Eagles trade their first out and he was like pick 16?
Eagles in 24.
Yeah.
They traded pick 3.
Yeah.
To you guys.
Yeah, I just
That's
wanted
right.
to. I just wanted to have a humble brag.
Yeah, that's
but
You remembered. You remembered, Tommy.
I was trying to word it as a. Can you educate me? But yeah,
Max Stretton in the comments has said Matt Whitlock top 5.
you know what? I don't mind
Clear.
that from you, mate. That's Max. Good call. I actually think the Whitlock brothers would be close to the best in the class.
In this year's draft.
Yeah.
Close. Yeah.
Because I
they'd
actually
be
think
up there.
Ludovic is the most underrated because, again, another quirk with Australian sports. Everyone else in the world thinks PCL is a Mickey Mouse injury and you can just come back to it. But evidently in Australia, it's like up there with nuclear war burns.
Oh, man.
I like that.
Like in the UK, you do an ACL. We're wondering why you're not playing by Christmas.
Yeah, no,
Like,
it's
but
like
over here, it's
radiation
like, oh
burn,
my
yeah.
God, he might die.
We do actually. That's a good point. We do have a bit of a thing with knee injuries that it's like it's
Yeah.
the worst
No,
thing in
it's-
the world.
his career's like if you do a knee, right? I reckon you got like a 50-50 chance of coming back.
Have we like?
No, the same player. No, coming back the same player.
No, but
Like,
have we historically been a bad sport at fixing them? Maybe that's what it is.
No, I just think we always overplay it because it is a lower body sport. AFL. It's like it's closest to rugby, but
Yeah, it's a big one. for knees, obviously, a lot of turning.
If you did an ACL in like Super League in the UK and you said, "Oh, I can't play till March next year," we'd be like, "Delist him, soft."
get rid of him.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
You know what I mean? When I was this age, I'd have 2 darts and a paracetamol. Okay, fine, let's do 2024.
Okay, let's do this. This
Yeah.
is the 2024 and 2025 combined draft rankings. As I said before, we're going to do this from a perspective of like kind of trying to rank them and not doing it purely on performance of the guys from 2024 that we've seen play.
Yeah, I think it's almost like comparing, like freezing the 2024 draft in time and say, like, where would Will Dersma,
Yeah,
Ezekiel,
at
and
that
go?
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like Murphy Reed probably won't feature high because, you know, he went pick 17, so it feels disingenuous to shoot him up the rankings in this particular one. for instance.
And disregard Sam and his stupid mate doing a backflip on Carlton round.
Yeah.
I want to throughout this. I want to address the Whitlock thing. I think we need to bring the Whitlocks into this conversation. We'll try to do that. Let's start by going around the room and saying who you would take with the number 1 pick. I will start, and I'm taking Sam Lawler.
Jesse, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I will say I was also going to take Sam Lawler. I thought he was the best player last year for a little bit of time before the draft. I mean, it's true of both drafts. I think every top prospect kind of had some knock on them. But Sam Lawler, I thought, to me, other than the hamstrings, I thought he was a pretty well-rounded player once he proved that he could play as a midfielder. Comparatively to, say, like a Willem Dersma, it's just a little bit easier to see what Lawler's position was at AFL level at the time, powerful midfielder forward, whereas Dersma, he's great in a number of positions, but if he settles as a intercepting defender who provides run and carry, I think that's less valuable than a Sam Lawler. So for me, it's still Lawler.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like I just think he's closer to full form in a way. He's got everything. He's got that power and explosiveness and forward craft, but he's really technical with his field kicking and getting other players into space as well. So this one's not particularly close for me with him being number 1.
Yeah.
I do think differently.
Let's hear it.
I think Will Dersma would go 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Talk us through that.
I think so it's 2 points. And it both come down to body and what's going on. Right? So Lawler obviously had a couple of hamstring injuries across this year. Realistically, I just don't like the idea of an 18-year-old having multiple hamstring injuries in their first year. I think that's a worry. And 2, I look at the body and the...
I thought we weren't factoring that in.
I thought we were.
I think you can freeze it in time, and if
He had a hammy.
if Lawler had hamstring issues, you can, and it's the same with like a Wardlaw. Wardlaw he's not available in this draft at all, but just another example of a player that did have those injuries in their draft.
It's a fair point.
Yeah. And the only other point I'd have is looking at Dersma versus Lawler in terms of body, what they're potentially able to do longer term in their career. I think I'd go Dersma. He's a taller man. He's got great strength above his head. He's got great strength in the middle. He seems to be able to take on 1v1s. I think if you're comparing the two of them right now, and I obviously have a bit more experience in understanding what Lawler's done in his career and how his body's held up than Dersma, I'd be taking Dersma.
I think it's a brave call. I like it. It's a brave call because obviously we've seen what Lawler's done, and you cannot erase that from your brain.
I know,
Round 1
is
against
hard.
Carlton.
Yeah, I did genuinely.
We
love
can
Lawler.
erase it from.
I loved him last year though. To be honest.
So did I.
Yeah.
A couple of drinks and you can erase anything, to be fair.
Exactly.
Murphy who?
So Pommy, that leaves you.
You see, I think it depends what you like. For me, I rate. Look, my draft, my power rankings are always different to everyone else because I think it's easy to copy and paste Cal Toomey's and change his homework a bit. But I look at Sam Lawler and I loved him, but he was a strong half forward that could pinch hit in the midfield.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, that's great. If I've got my team that can back that in, like if I'm Eagles,
he's a moments player.
Yeah, if I'm Eagles losing by 60 every game. That looks sexy, but the problem is he was getting it out to it.
Very
almost-
Cam Rainer.
Should we almost
in a
act
lot
like
of
it's
ways.
Tassie with a blank canvas?
Yeah, so I look at it like this. I think Jaggers ahead of Sam as pick 1, usually the worst team in the competition. I think Harvey Langford was grossly underrated. I think Levi Ashcroft, the guy could do everything in that draft.
He's very
and I think
balanced.
everyone disrespects anyone from Brisbane. It's NGA. So to answer your question, I think Will Dersma is the clear number 1. You name me a draftee in the last 10 years that when they have been losing Gippsland power, he has played centre-half back. And he dominated. He dominated. They moved him centre-half back, right? Gippsland power, when they've needed a goal, has played half forward. He has dominated. He's played on midfield. So, yes, okay, out and out, if you were saying one position.
He ain't won nothing.
That's true.
Okay, cool. That's
He
great.
doesn't have a premiership medal.
Where's his Norm Smith?
Like he's
Sam won.
Sam.
Yeah.
Well, they did lose that game, didn't they? But I
No,
feel
but Sam won. Because we're talking when Sam walked into Richmond round 1, he had players looking at him like Nathan Broad going, well done, you're the best junior player.
No,
I won a real thing.
I was only joking.
No,
anyway.
I agree. So my argument is this. When you're bringing it, Jagger, he proved in his junior year when they were losing, he won the ball, he gave it to better players. He worked hard. Levi was sensational. He's like Dan Annable in his junior year. He worked hard when they were losing, when they were winning, for Allies, for VFL. He did his part.
I mean, he is the winner in this crop.
Yeah.
Levi Ashcroft. Everything he does
Yeah,
everything
so
he touches
like
turns
Will
to gold.
Dersma, I look at it this way. Sam, we're losing. I need some defence at halfback. I ain't putting Sam there. Putting him at half forward and hoping we can kick it to him. So I think in that argument, I am looking at it this way. When you are bottom, you have pick one. You need everything. Yeah. I think Sam's a great pick. I'm not disrespecting him. But if blank canvas, I agree with Jesse. If I'm building a team, I need to make sure that I've got the guy that gets it to Sammy. And I think Will Dersma's there.
Okay.
The thing that scares me a little with Ders, and after the draft, I will go completely quiet on this because he'll be a West Coast Eagle. But in comparison to Lawler, I get a little bit put off when a player doesn't have a proven contested game. So if he relies too much on the ball coming to him at AFL level, that's what would knock him down behind a Lawler for me. And again, that also translates into is he a genuine midfielder? Because the upside with Dersma is quite obvious, right? Like you look at the Bontempelli template, and he's got a lot of those traits there. He's not exactly the same player, but Dersma probably still needs to prove that he can win his own footy in the midfield. Bont has proven that when he also hadn't proven that at 18. I don't know if Dersma is the quality forward that Bont can be as well. And so those little knocks on there probably just knock him down a little bit for me. But if he does tick those boxes at AFL level, let's say he fills out, not sure if genetically that's going to happen for him. It's kind of like a very specific body shape he's got. But those would be my concerns. So Lawler for me.
There's 100%, and that would be one of the major things for me. Like Dersma on the inside is not quite as clean as Sam Lawler, and he's also not as good a kick. So he's not as good when he's got the ball in his hands. But I'll give you all of those. The versatility part of it is clear. Like he can pretty much play on any line. Yeah. Where Sam Lawler's more, you want him in the front half of the ground, really, don't you, for that kind of powerful marking and goal kicking. So two's going to get really
now.
Tricky.
Can I ask a question very quickly? Because
sure.
we mentioned earlier that we try not to take into account what's happened. There's a couple of players that I think, if you didn't take into account what they've done at AFL level, you just couldn't take into account who they are as a player. So
yeah, I think that stuff's impossible to get out of your head. So okay. just go with it.
Okay. Well, pick two. Who's got what?
Jesse.
I wrote it down and then I don't have my notes open. I think
I've actually got your notes.
Oh, good. Who did I have there, Dylan?
You had Finn O'Sullivan.
I thought it might be Foss. Yeah, I still went Finn O'Sullivan over anyone else. So, I mean, he went pick 2 in the actual draft. And again, it's frozen in time because I think we did a redraft last week and I had Alex Taru redrafted at pick 2 for North Melbourne. But in this scenario, I don't see that what Taru's done, and he's still a bit of a bolter and a question mark, I suppose. But Foss has a very well-rounded game, save for the fact that maybe he averages about 5 less possessions a game than you'd like. I think as a smaller-bodied midfielder, he actually has a really balanced game between inside and out. Good overhead for his size, good skills, good IQ. For me, I think he's a much safer bet than the other prospects, and I would still, again, going back 12 months, freezing it in time, I would have gone Foss. But I can see people, one person's rejecting that. Again, you have to ignore what we saw at AFL level. So yeah, Murphy Reed's not part of this conversation, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's
difficult too with the Finn O'Sullivan thing because, again, goes to North Melbourne, which generally makes it more difficult for you, right?
Yep.
To actually come in. But I'm going to go Finn O'Sullivan as well. I rated him so highly in his draft year. And he's just that balanced player that can do everything. And people underrate with Finn O'Sullivan, I think partly because he's gone into the AFL and played more of a half-back role, but he's a goal kicker. He's that forward half midfielder similar to like an Isaac Heaney at his best.
Yeah. So I was a Foss fan at the time and still am. Again, yeah, with Dersma, I just think there's some question marks there that would put me off picking him ahead of a Finn O'Sullivan who seems much... Maybe it's just a little bit of my psychology as well. I'm going for the safer bet than a Dersma. But again, he'll be an Eagle in a few days and you'll never hear me repeat any of this.
Exactly. No, see, that's where I come to a difficult question because I've gotten Dersma, obviously, in the first position. But then we've got Sam Lawler. And I, to be honest, sit there going, well, Sam Lawler's awesome, clearly deserving of a number 1 pick. but Levi Ashcroft could be as well.
I think we also should clarify. I reckon it's good to consider these father-son academy players open pool in this scenario.
I think
So
they should
like the
be.
fact that
okay.
Ashcroft went 5 doesn't necessarily mean. I think if he's open pool, he might have gone like 2 or 3.
That's kind of where looking at this right now, going, all right. Well, I still think Dersma is probably the best out of the two crops. But if I'm just thinking the second best player, I'm going Ashcroft.
So you're
That's fair.
Dersma into Ashcroft.
I don't mind that.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Pommy?
You see, I'm with Woody here. I won't pick one, Dersma. Like, I love Sammy. I think he's a great player. But I think when you're talking pick one, I'm looking at it, I'm the worst team in the world. So Sam, great. Finals, he'll kill you. I think if...
You said to me before, though, Pommy, in one of our arguments, it's about winning premierships. It's not about getting to there.
It is, but you've got to have the team, haven't you?
Well, you do.
So, like, put Sammy L in a team anywhere else. I don't think it works.
Sammy's the finisher.
But I think he is the finisher. But, like, let's say I'm Carlton 2018. I have no one to give it to him. God bless him.
Yeah.
Like,
But
Sammy
also-
just looks bang average. And there was a
Sammy
few
would have been-
games where Sammy looked bang average this year. Finn O'Sullivan looked bang average sometimes this year. But Levi, I think he works defensively. I think he's like, 0.3 from tackles?
I don't think you can compare Levi to Finn O'Sullivan or Sam Lawler this year, though, with the teams that they've walked into.
Okay.
I'd agree with
Levi walks into a Brisbane Lions team. He's very ready-made as well, Levi.
Yeah, look, I think if it was pick 2 in this draft, let's say I had Eagles, I had pick 1 straight away, Will Dersma, pick 2, I would go Sammy. Pick 2, because I've got the guarantee, number 1.
I agree.
Guarantee, number 2 is the sexy. But I will say this, in this scenario, I think Levi was incredibly underrated. And I think people underrate him because because in the AFL draft every year, I remember last year making the bold call Murphy Reed would win the Rising Star because he was the most consistent. That is important. Being able to win the ball and do what you've got to do every week is important.
Absolutely.
Sam, yes, he's brilliant. Put Sam in North Melbourne when you were playing good teams. You were 60 down. North Melbourne are a different side to Richmond. Massively different. Look at Richmond, because Richmond's philosophy is they play their way and they play like champions, even though they're not.
They've got leadership.
They definitely
for scores.
Look, I don't think you're wrong. I'm just saying, in 2-3 years' time, we might think of them.
I think Sam, 10 years' time, best player probably in his draft club, no doubt about it. But I've also got to put in an element that I want to win today, don't I?
I think with like a Levi Ashcroft type, I think it can't be understated being a father-son and having like a brother in the AFL already. You're already so much closer to that professionalism before you actually get into the AFL. Like he's kind of lived it and breathed it coming in. So for me, he gets an advantage on those other players that potentially can catch up. But there's no doubt about it. He was the most consistent player and he's the biggest winner in this crop. So
I agree.
I wouldn't argue against that. So what do we go there in the end? Finn O'Sullivan. Who were you?
I went Foss, yeah.
I went
Ashcroft.
Ashcroft
you went,
too.
You went
Ashcroft,
Lawler or
Ashcroft.
Ashcroft?
Ashcroft.
Ashcroft, okay.
And I was Finn O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
So I'll start again with the next one. I'm going to go Ashcroft here.
I'll make it quick. I'm going Lawler.
Yes.
I'm with you.
I went Ashcroft as well, so it sounds like we've been hanging out too much.
We should date. Okay, let's just skip to pick 4 then.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull up the thing again. I might take a left field one here, so I might let you guys go first, if that's okay.
I'll start. I took Jagger Smith here. Yeah.
We have been hanging out too much. This is who I was about to take here.
That is not at all who I was thinking of.
Interesting. It's hard to. I mean, the thing with Jagger is he's done an ACL, so like we remember him as his 18-year-old self. There's not enough data or no data there to extrapolate on. But in terms of the performance piece that Jagger had, I don't know. He certainly doesn't have the upside of a Willem Dersma, right? Like that's not the question mark on Dersma, but he does seem a lot safer than any of these guys. And again, there's a real trend to what I'm picking here, and also just considering. Just how the esteem he was held in his draft class. I'm not sure that a Dersma goes higher than him. That was the way I did it. What about you, Pommy?
That's bold. It is a tough one. Who do you take here? Because my order is the same as yours almost, Woody, isn't it?
Similar, yeah.
So we've got Ders, we've got Ashcroft.
And Lawler.
Yeah, so this is hard. It's probably a talk of Euland for me now
Okay.
and Jagger.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to throw in a curveball, Harvey. So I was a big Harvey lover.
There's
in his
three
draft.
players.
Well, I tried to remove Harvey from this because I had him back from these guys in the draft year, but now seeing his deficiencies or apparent deficiencies when he was playing as a junior footballer and now seeing at AFL how good he is, I think they've been dispelled basically.
I think we look at it, there used to be a thing in the 80s, the 90s, when we started to see players like, especially in the 90s, when we had Ryan Giggs and players like that could burst on the wing. The most big thing was, this is never going to turn into anything. It's just being quick. He can't cross. 10 years later, everyone plays like Ryan Giggs, cuts back inside, a winger becomes an extra striker. So I think the same thing in AFL. We're very archaic in, he's big, he runs really hard. But he's not lightning quick. You look at that strength is a huge thing. That strength is a huge thing. You look at Bontempelli, his strength is a huge thing, buys him time. So I look at Harvey here and I really like him because I liked him at the draft. I was like, I'm a Carlton fan. We play contested. Everything is slow.
Yeah.
So I was like, he'd fit in.
Yeah.
He'd fit in.
Like genuinely, Harvey Langford in a way is like the perfectly rounded footballer, other than the fact that he doesn't have any pace.
Yeah.
So there is like a
on.
zero burst there. So he's a good endurance runner, but can he actually beat you to the ball essentially and like open that space up? And he apparently can because he's smart enough.
I want to give a quick shout out to Birdman throwing out the name, or one of the names that I was considering. Ty Gallop is one that I think has gone significantly under the radar.
Oh, and this okay.
But that's factoring in his form this year,
Yes,
right?
it
Because
is.
nobody was talking about him last year.
He shouldn't be in this consideration if I'm avoiding what they've done in this year. But if you are considering that, he is. That being said, I think Harvey Langford is the right call for the next position here. Though I'm very heavily considering Euland. I'm very heavily considering Gallup as well.
So I'll just clarify as well. I think the reason we want to ignore their 2025 form is so that, like, the point of this exercise is to gauge the strength of this year against last year for the audience. And so that what can they realistically expect from these guys this year? So that's why, like a Murphy Reed excelled last year and he went at pick 17. And that kind of gives you I can use that example because it's the most clear surprise, right? I suppose. Like in a redraft, I think he goes a fair bit earlier, but that's unfair comparing. It's apples and oranges then.
It is. And to be fair, apparently they were saying thank you and not Ty. Maybe I got that wrong.
So funny. Thank you, Gallup.
That was incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
Not Ty Gallop.
No,
he's done
apparently
well. Yeah, I don't think he would be considered in this top 10 conversation anyway. But I mean, Murphy Reed's an interesting one because he would have actually, for most of the season, predominantly was placed amongst the top 10. And then when it sort of got to that kind of mocking out to clubs is when he really slid. And it would have been the athleticism that put clubs off.
I'm going to call him the Grateful Horse.
Why?
Sorry, you were saying, Dylan? You were saying
What did
something?
that even mean?
Ty Gallop, TY, thank you, Gallop. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going
Sure.
It's good dance.
Sure. So that puts us up to we're only at number 5. I'm glad we're only doing 10.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, this is
I thought we were
taking
going
longer.
to 60.
Yeah, we could, guys.
I'm going to do a bid.
You guys got plans for the rest of the week? We'll keep going. Okay, I'm going to go with Willem Dersma here.
Okay.
You're the click.
Who did you go? Did you go Jagger or Zeke in the end, Pommy? With the last selection.
I'll just go Jagger, makes it quicker.
Okay. I actually put Zeke Euland here ahead of Dersma.
Did you?
I did, yeah. I do wonder if he is a chance. Would it be a chance at pick 1 to West Coast if he was open pool?
It's a really interesting conversation. I think he's just, to be honest, this year, Zeke Euland just too underexposed.
Yeah.
So we've essentially missed a year of him playing football.
Yeah.
To judge, he was dominant last year. I loved him last year.
Yeah.
What he did as a bottom ager, but
Yeah.
how much can you rate someone when they've played a couple of AFL games?
Yeah. Again, for me, it probably just comes into it's more clear the role he plays at AFL level.
Totally.
And I think with Durs, I mean, I've seen some comparisons to Brendan Goddard, but I think there's some pretty big differences in the way they play.
Yeah.
it's more clear to see Yulin becoming a light version of Errol Goulden. You know what I mean? For instance, if he plays in that
it's
role.
that close. He's closer to the pin already, right?
Yeah. And not denying the upside of a Dersma, because if Dersma proves me wrong on some of these attributes and he finds a position, he's a midfielder, he probably is the best player out of anyone we've discussed here today. So we'll see.
Totally. Pommy, 5?
Fuck, it's hard, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, it gets hard here.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I agree with you with the Euland comparisons. I mean, I would counter it as not many underages play that many VFL games in serious positions. And I remember, I think from memory, I do remember doing a VFL recap. I can't remember if it was for a draft or it was, I'm pretty sure it was against Carlton, but he killed us as a 17-year-old. I remember.
Euland?
Yeah.
Did he really?
Yeah, slating Carlton, going, even children are beating us now. This is how good we've got. It is a tough one, isn't it? Because, like, I mean, I think this, I've got a... I went Jagger last time, didn't I? I'd say it'd be a tough call. I'd probably go Euland over Harvey, but it'd be very close.
Over Harvey, yeah, okay. You rated Draper pretty highly last year, didn't you?
I did rate Draper very highly. I think my issue with Draper is a little bit like what I've said tonight. They're really hard to rate players that are dynamic players in a system where you're not going to play dynamic. And Sid Draper going to Adelaide, who have got incredible burst players, versus anyone else, he probably doesn't play.
Yeah. It's actually funny with Draper. You know, there's been this big sort of narrative at the end of this season that Adelaide need another midfielder. Like, they've got Draper sitting there. There's your perfect player. That's like a A-grade midfielder just sitting there coming through. So I think he's going to move the needle for them. Woody, pick 5.
Pick 5. Jagger Smith. I would be young Jagger. It was like here.
Disgrace.
As much as I'm like, as much as I'm sitting here going like, there's a few players I'm avoiding. Zeke Euland, one of them. Patterson, another. The general question comes down to I've had more knowledge of what I've seen through Jagger Smith. I've had more time to digest it. As much as I think Zeke and Patterson could be of the same level, if not better, right now I'd be going Smith.
Smith. Okay, so that brings us to pick 6, which here I'm going to take Harvey here. That's an easy one for me. Harvey Langford.
I'd go Dersma here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you took Zeke before.
I took Zeke at 5 and I took Willem Dersma at 6.
Pommy?
Where are we?
6. I've gone Langford. Jesse's gone Dersma.
Didn't I already pick Jagger?
Yeah, you already picked him, I think.
Just before I went for a wee. Are we on a different bag?
Yeah.
I thought you took him before Euland. Did you take Euland before Jagger?
No, I took Jagger before Euland.
Okay, then
We'll take Euland.
I was going to take Euland as well.
Yeah,
I think we're exactly the same.
Jesse and I are very aligned, and you
Yeah.
two are very aligned.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Number 7. Who slots in here?
I went Langford. He was a Lark medalist that year. And there were some, question marks on his pace for sure. But as you said, even at the time, like there was a pretty well-roundedness to his game. He was finding the footy. So he
Kicks
sort of,
it well.
Yeah, overhead pretty good.
Kicks goals.
Yeah, so...
It was just pace.
Yeah, and then, there's plenty of good AFL players that don't have...
I think it's a good lesson too that if you've got, like, if you don't have pace and you don't have other stuff, then okay, you maybe. But if you're that well rounded, you're probably going to be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
if you
he's
don't
dual
have pace.
position as well, right? So,
Exactly. He could play half back.
Yeah.
He could play in the forward line. Like he's
So
got everything.
I did like Harvey in his draft year, and this is where I'd have him. But behind Dersma on the upside thing, like it's tight, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to slot Tyroo here at 7.
I was going to put Tyroo in at this point as well. It was either him or Patterson for me.
Oh yeah, Patterson's good too.
Yeah.
Tyroo though.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Next.
Did you go Pom?
I'm going to go CDT here.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. He'd have to be coming up in the mix.
I like Matos, and I like the fact that I know you hate it. I like he did it against men.
Haven't we all? Continue.
Oh, love it. Number 8. I am going to go Sullivan Roby.
I went Cooper Duff here. I again with Sullivan, young Sullivan. Well, as we all know, it's the lack of body of work, not the attributes that holds him back. And I do think that CDT is likely to go early in the draft. I suppose that's not locked in. But in reality, like West Coast is probably going to pick CDT over Roby, therefore justifying my position. I went CDT.
Aligned with the club.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's kind of consensus ranking too, right?
Real mouthpiece operator.
But Toomey would also rank in that order.
Yeah, now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I probably gave it away earlier in some regards.
Ty Gallup.
Yeah, right. Well, no, I think in I think at this point you are starting to consider some of the newer players that we haven't seen as much of. For me, that's Patterson.
Okay.
Patterson.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going Ewland here.
So have you picked Patterson before CDT?
Yes.
Woody? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think that's fair. Patterson's great. So that was 9.
No, I haven't. Well, I haven't read out 9.
Okay, that was
I
8.
think that was 8, yeah.
That was 8.
that
So who
was
we got
8,
on
yeah.
9, Jesse? Give us your number.
I love Sid Draper. This is where I'm going to pick him.
Sid.
Pretty well-rounded midfielder. Quite damaging. Bit of explosiveness.
I like that.
Proven at sample level in his draft year. Went pick 4. And I think, the body of work of him versus a Sullivan Roby is superior.
Being in Adelaide and then not playing a lot this year is kind of... He's just
you
forgotten
kind of just
about.
forget about him, but
Yeah.
I don't think that means much, personally.
Pom?
Sid Draper will be up there. I find it hard because I'm going to spoiler. Sullivan Rubb is not in my top 10. The same with Tyroo, just because I don't like 8-week, 10-week spurts. And I think you've got to give priority to longevity as a junior.
TDK effect, they call that.
Yeah, I've got to look at players like Dyson in this position. Josh is another one as well. Smiley, people forget we haven't seen him yet, have we? At Richmond, he's been injured, but that guy had a better year than. Let's be honest, he had a better year than Ollie Greaves, and we've got him circulating top 10, top 15. And Josh's junior year was staggering.
I think there is a fair suggestion that Greaves might slide.
Yeah.
There is, definitely. And that's why I said 10 to 15. He was I think this 6 months ago, he was top 10, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I think we could see him past 20, to be honest. I think we might even see him past 25, depending on where things go.
It's funny with Greaves, the performances got better and the perception of him got worse as he played better.
Yeah, it's odd.
Yeah.
I mean, Sharp's kind of also in the same boat, not to the same extent, but Sharp was considered a pick 1 contender at the start of the year. And, he's still in that mix, but it's not because of his performance.
It's actually so funny on perception because, I was beginning of the season, the first few games that I saw, I was like, Dersma, CDT, no one's knocking them off the perch. And West Coast fans hated getting mocked, those guys. And now it's completely flipped. They hate getting mocked Sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. But anyway, continue.
Yeah,
God bless them.
feisty
Yeah,
bunch.
so I do like that consistency. So, it's fascinating, isn't it? It's a tough one. If I had to stomp, though, I'm going to go Dyson here. I think
Dyson,
MVP under 16, insane. That's incredibly hard to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
This time last year, if anyone watched Dyson on the content we did on Pommy and Oz, the big issue was with Dyson, everyone was saying he didn't get goals. He's averaged over 1.5 goals this year, which has shown he's added that. I think he's one of the few people in this draft class who has massively increased his output every year.
He
where
just
the
keeps-
others have just got better at what they did.
Exactly. And the thing with Dyson, I keep saying it this year, that shows a mentality, a growth mentality. To every time he gets challenged on something, he goes up and he keeps playing well. He's had so much shit throughout this season. I was ranking him lower at the beginning of the season. And every time you kind of put it out there, he just seems to answer that question. Not that he's specifically listening to me, of course, but
I'm sure he is. No, so what are we at, 9?
must be.
I think for me, this will be CDT. I've avoided him for a little while. I'm not sure how high his ceiling actually is, but I like what I've seen and I'm going to put him in at 9th.
I'm going to go Taj Houghton.
Ooh, I like it.
I like that.
Taj.
For 4 games.
They were bloody good games.
They
though,
were.
Jesse.
They were bloody good.
I saw 3 of those games live, and he was taking the piss.
Yeah, oh, he's a gun. He's a gun.
To be fair, it only took like 3-4 games to know that Matty Rowell was going to win a Brownlow. Like,
That's a good point. Good point.
Number 10. Last one.
I'm actually going to change it from who I wrote down here. I've reframed it in my head as if these 3 players were available, who would I want my club to take? I'm going to take Alex Taru at 10.
ooh.
Yeah. I also considered Josh Smiley and Sullivan Roby. Taru, I think, sometimes you do put a little premium on key position players in a draft, like if they're showing some upside, considering how raw they are. But, you know, he was playing games forward and playing well as well in his draft year. And he was, if anything, like St Kilda at pick 10 was a bargain. I shouldn't include what we've seen at AFL level, but I think I've inspired at the last minute to take Alex Taru over a Roby.
Tyru's greatest attribute to me is his fearlessness.
Yeah.
He just flies. He doesn't care. He has
I don't
no
think-
concern for his
I feel
safety.
like he's never been hurt in the air. He just doesn't understand that this could be
maybe.
painful.
There's no memory there
No,
of
exactly.
like getting hurt and protecting yourself. Okay, I'm going to go here. I think this is a boring one, but I'm just going to slot in Sid Draper, who I had, I think, in my open pool last year at the end about 3 or 4. So he slots in here. The Drapernator. Good speed, explosiveness.
No one calls him that.
No,
Some have.
Do you know
I
that?
don't know if I do. I considered Draper, but I feel like, again, we've taken in a bit of consideration what's happened this year, though we're not meant to, which has led me, all right, chill out, has led me to selecting Roby in this position, though I think those two were kind of the biggest wondering, along with Murphy Reed, around this point, whether you go one of those 3. That was my tough decision.
I love it. Do we all get the 10 in?
No. This is a tough one for me. I'm between Annabelle and Patterson. Reason I'm between Patterson is I think if you look at from a sports science point of view, backline is so important. Rugby league is the natural place where you would look for, because your entire job, if you ever played league, something I've played a lot of growing up in the north of England, your ability to take a high ball and then find space incredibly quickly and find a route through.
That step as well.
Yeah, AFL is incredibly easy when you watch how a league is played. Smaller field, less time, everyone's set up.
I imagine the difficulty for a rugby background player is more that stoppage situation.
It would be stop-start. I'd also say the ability to kick short, because obviously you think when I played centre as a league, you just get the ball and kick it as high and as long as you can. There's no accuracy. You're aiming for a period of the field as opposed to a human being. Annabelle is another one as well. I like my players to be consistent, and I think that's a huge thing. So back to Dyson Sharp. I think people disregard, and I can always tell when someone speaks about a draftee that they only watched them in the last 6 months when they talk about him, because they're like, oh, he's not good at this, he's not good at that. I had the privilege of watching Dyson last year, and to see Dyson now, it's not even the same player.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to see. The fact he's added that goal kicking.
He's got more pace.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for me is last year he reminded me a little bit of what I complain about Sam Walsh. Sometimes Sam Walsh doesn't get the ball inside 50 in the mixer. Sam Walsh's big thing is he's looking for the perfect kick. I love the fact Dyson's now a little bit more ostentatious with that ball movement. Go for it, have a crack. So
Just take the ground.
yeah, so I'm going to pick Danny Annabelle though here, because Danny Annabelle for me, it's a little bit like Levi Ashcroft last year. Everyone slated Levi, and it was obvious he was the best player in the draft class.
Yeah.
It's going to happen again. Annabelle is the most clear.
Annabelle and Patterson, for me, have been severely underrated this whole
I'm a big
draft
fan of
class.
Patterson though.
I think it's just it gets boring to talk about players that are linked to clubs already.
Yeah.
Because there's no jeopardy about where they're going to go. So I think that comes into it. I do. I mean, the argument on Annabelle would be that there are certain limitations to his game. Like he probably doesn't have that upside when he comes into the AFL, right? Like he's a good first hands midfielder, gets his hands on. He's a good runner as well, but like his kicking, stuff like that, he's not the best kick. That's probably the main thing.
See, I just, like, if I'm real, I genuinely don't care about, like, kick to handball ratio. I don't care about how far you kick a footy on average. I don't care about any of that. Look, it's all beneficial if you do higher end stuff. But at the end of the day, none of that defines getting the ball to your teammate getting it to their teammate and kicking a goal. Like, for me, it is retention. Retention rating is almost the most important thing in football. And I come down to some of these...
I strongly disagree with this point, by the way, but I'll let you go.
Really? Fair.
Yeah.
I see, for me, I think retention and a mix of threat, obviously, is what makes football...
If you just retain the ball, though, how do you have any error of like spontaneity on the opposition? You're just retaining the ball and can let them set up behind it.
Sure, if you're playing slow, but I don't think retention requires playing slow. I think retention is just retention. Whether that means you're playing the quickest brand of football you've ever seen on earth or the slowest, it kind of doesn't matter. Retention means your opponent doesn't get the ball and they don't kick a goal. That's kind of the outcome of it. And for me, there's certain players here that aren't great in that regard and are rated highly. And there's other players that will take the safer option all the time. And I'd probably rate them a little bit higher because I genuinely think if the opponent doesn't get the ball, they're not kicking a goal. It's that simple.
That's a take. I'll stand to disagree on that one.
That's fine.
What do you guys think?
I was just going to quickly summarise the fact that I had 3 players from this year's draft in the combined top 10. So again, the point of the exercise is to see how the top prospects this year compare against last year. So I had Dersma at 6, actually had Uland at 5 and CDT at 8. I think you may have had...
I had one more. I think.
You had one more with Annabelle. You
I was
also
either
included
4
Patterson.
or 5, yeah.
Yeah, and you were probably the same as me.
Yeah, pretty close.
Okay.
I think I had Houghton.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean with the 2025 crop?
Yeah. How many of the 2025 crop did you have? I think 4.
I think I only had 2. I had Dersma.
Did you not? You didn't have Uland?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Well, there you go. So that
No,
kind
Oh,
I
no,
was
Roby.
50-50.
Roby, I had 3.
I think I was 50-50.
I had Roby.
Yeah.
Yep. Interesting.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have
Good
expected that. I feel like a lot of people are leaning towards the idea that the previous draft crop was like significantly better, and like potential for the future crop as well. And even walking into today, I said that I think the high end of that draft is good, but I also think that it falls off a cliff fairly quickly.
Yeah, I think definitely if you compare the 2 drafts, it's like it is more about the depth. Like
Yeah.
2024 just had better players when you were picking like 30 to 50 to 60, that range.
I don't
right?
think the top end upside of 2024 was particularly strong compared to 2023, which had like Harley and Dersma, McKercher and Nick Watson, right?
That's what I mean. Like they were just they're closer to full form, which makes them inherently safer at the same time as
Yeah.
having upside. Like I feel like Lawler is that.
Yes.
Like look how well he did straight away.
The way I'd characterize 25 personally, outside of the overall depth, which is not amazing, but in terms of the top prospects, I feel like while every prospect has some weakness, I feel like the top handful this year all have quite pronounced deficiencies that make them either boom or bust. And I would say that's true of Dersma. I would say that's true of CDT. And both of those are probably around position more so than anything else.
Yeah.
Like what is their role at AFL level? It could be outstanding or it could be kind of a nothing situation. Roby has the lack of body of work. Uland probably, it's the fact that he missed a year, right? So I just think there's so many knocks on some of these guys.
Yep.
And in a way, that a bunch of those could be better than anyone in 2024.
That's why I found myself consistently in this particular draft falling back to the like things like mentality and drive. And I almost want to, I feel like I want to get to know the crop of players better than I did last year, for example, because there's like obvious deficiencies and it's like, how is this going to cross over? And I feel if their personalities are more suited to the AFL, they can make that.
Yeah.
They can make that step.
Like a Dyson.
Yeah. That's why I've been big on him. I mean, Annabelle's another good example of that. I think he's like very high floor player.
Yeah.
For sure, but it'll be interesting. Should we wrap it up there, guys? We've been going for a while.
We've been doing a bit of things, yeah. Anything else we want to discuss?
Anybody
lads?
else want to say anything before we go?
I mean, just on St Kilda, real quickly.
Yeah.
Top 2, 3, 1.
Top 18.
Where do we see us?
Oh, when he's okay.
Top 18.
Yeah. I mean, we got a bunch of
but
people
not
here.
2028.
I'm saying top 8. Just. So where that falls, 6 to 8 probably.
Yeah, I mean, I would be very, very disappointed if we didn't make any of the wild cards slots.
I forgot now it's the top 10.
Yeah,
sort of, isn't
exactly.
It? Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so true. That's what finals
I'll
is
say
now.
6 to 10 then.
Yeah.
But like, I think Saints players and fans, everybody should be expecting like 6 or better.
Yep.
About you, Pom?
I think I had 6 to 10. I had you as my risers. I thought you were a lot for the 8. It's just how quickly Ross can ingrain that. We saw it with Adelaide the year before. Yep. Everyone thought Adelaide would jump up and they didn't. Then it was the year after. I think Saints will have that bit of a teething.
There is going to be that, like, getting those players to fit in.
But I just think
everyone
it's
to
so
gel.
different as well. Like, you look at the guys they brought in, they're all exciting. Like,
Yeah.
Sam Flanders is the antichrist of Ross, the Bolts midfielders.
I heard
Like,
with that-
Jesus is another one, the antichrist of them, because he likes to take the game on and get the ball moving.
Totally.
So I'm excited to see how they go.
I feel like there's a lot of growth in the Saints, though, from that bunch of draftees as well. Like, you've had, obviously, an aside, but there's like Wilson, there's Windhager. Give me some more names because for some reason they're not coming to me.
Giroud
Young
was
St Kilda
there.
players.
Yeah.
Philippou, Machino.
Philippou, of course. Like so
I think that was my
Hugo
bold,
Garcia.
that was my bold call. You're like that, Philippa, all-Australian
I'd love
squad.
to see him there. Yeah,
I'm a big Mateus boy.
Taru Travalia.
yeah, that's true.
Mateus, I'm a big-
Yes.
But I
Yeah, well, we
actually
haven't
think
seen
in
much of
future
Travalia.
second gets
Yeah.
used to bring in Jevon. I reckon that's the secret.
If we're gonna like, I genuinely think we will get Jevon.
I've got the feeling that the Philippa boys.
I think it'll be. Honestly, I think we're trading with you. I'm pretty sure you trade your picks out.
Yeah.
You get a pick in the mid-20s, early 20s. We take that for future.
I don't mean to be mean to you guys, but it was something I said. If you had your future first, I would trade it with you over like Collingwood and the Eagles because I think we'll get better value. But but
Seriously?
the Eagles is a little-
no. In the terms of like it's a Russian roulette where if you offered a future first for our 9, I reckon you'd ask for the Earth back.
Okay.
Because you know it's a top 3.
Okay.
I think Saints are bullish that they're going to be quite high up, and
Yeah.
like Adelaide did with the Stocker trade. I don't know if you remember, but they traded their future for a swap, thinking we're top 4, you're bottom 4,
Yeah.
and it flipped. They were 18th, and
Yes.
we were like mid-table. So I would take that risk with you guys because I think you go anywhere. I would not be shocked. I say it to my wife all the time. She's a Saints girl. Next year, you're top 6. Wouldn't be shocked. Next year, you're 14th. Again, wouldn't be shocked. I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, kind of checks out.
That's very St Kilda either way.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll be a big one about performance for the Saints, I think, overall, and how they're those players are like getting the game plan and stuff like that. Shall we wrap it up, boys?
Yeah.
Have a bit of a kick on.
Yeah, thank you very much
Kick-ons
to
for the boys.
chat. Thank you for the donation.
Yes.
Thank you for our esteemed
Hey,
guests. This
we
has been a lot
should
of fun.
also mention as well, these beers, as much as we love them, they're not free. And if anybody out there in the world of beers wants to just, get involved with the channel, help sponsor a couple
world of
beers, we will face the label towards the camera. I'm just saying.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm sure they're watching.
I'm just saying, yeah.
No, thanks, boys. Thanks, both of you, for coming on today.
Let them plug their channels as well. I'm sure everyone's heard of them, but let's let them. Anything you want to plug?
Yes, guys. Tommy, where can people find you?
Pommy and Oz, if you go on to, at the minute, pommyandoz.shop/draft simulator, we have made our draft simulator free. So a lot of content creators are hiding that behind a paywall or to themselves. We're not like that. Everything we know, we give you. So go and check that out.
It's
if you
so
want to.
cool. I've been using it all week. We used it on Pommy's channel during the live stream of the week. Honestly, check it out. It's fantastic.
I know Sphinx 100 hates me in there, but is there anything more Australian than hating a white English guy?
It's not.
Bigotry and hatred works different what we experience in the United Kingdom. But if you want to go there, it is genuinely free. So everything we do, we give you for free. So go and check that out. So it'd be good fun.
It's fantastic. I've been using it all week to just do little mock drafts.
Yeah.
It gives you a visualization as well of like the points.
Yeah, the points.
Because I find
key.
sometimes that people throw picks at you and you're like, what am I swapping there?
Yeah.
What am I doing? So you can kind of see that play out in real time.
Totally.
Woody.
Yeah, I mean, very similar to Pom in a lot of ways. I mean, I do a lot of, number stuff in footy, right? I'm wooden spoon data on the YouTube channels and the Instas and all that. But yeah, I've got a few things lined up. Like POM, I hope to release some software or firmware that's free and essentially gives you the ability to check up teams, how they rate against other teams, how certain players rate against each other, what might be helpful in terms of making decisions in betting. I'm not saying that I support betting in any way, but you could definitely use my program to help you. So, yeah, keep an eye out.
Awesome, guys. Thanks, everyone, again for tuning into the channel. We will be back on night 2 of the draft and have our finale show as well on Saturday next week. We will see you then.
Wait, Dylan. Actually, no, never mind. I was gonna do something, but don't worry about it.
Next time.
Good joke?
No, it wasn't a joke. Don't worry about it.
He was.
I was gonna plug something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I decided not to the last minute.
Lovely.
Story of my love life.
We'll see you all then. Goodbye.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.